Good morning, everyone. We will now call to order the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, May 19th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Kennedy.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Hume.
Here.
Supervisor Cerna.
Here.
And Chair Rodriguez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Will the clerk please read the Metro statement?
This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is live and recorded with closed captioning. It is cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV Uverse cable systems. It is also live streamed at Metro 14 Live, saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Friday, May 19th at 6 o'clock p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/MetroCable14. The Board of Supervisors fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and the use of courteous language. The Board does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant. Seating is limited and available on a first-come, first-served basis. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to make public comment and are limited to making one comment per agenda, off-agenda item. Please be mindful of the public comment procedures to avoid being interrupted while making your comment. Comments made by the public during Board of Supervisors meetings may include information that could be inaccurate or misleading, particularly concerning topics related to public health, voter registrations, and elections. The County of Sacramento does not endorse or validate the accuracy of public statements made during these open public forums. The recordings are shared to provide transparency and access to the proceedings of public meetings. To make a comment in person, please fill out a speaker request form and hand it to clerk staff. The chairperson will open public comments for each agenda, off-agenda item and direct the clerk to call the name of each speaker. When the clerk calls your name, please come to the podium and make your comment. If a speaker is unavailable to make a comment prior to the closing of public comments, the speaker waives their request to speak and the clerk will file the speaker request form in the record. The clerk will manage the timer and allow each speaker 2 minutes to make a comment. Off-agenda public comments will take place for a maximum of 30 minutes. The remainder of the agenda comments will take place at the conclusion of the timed matters in the afternoon. As a reminder, Rule of Procedure 10B allows the chair to establish uniform time limits for people addressing the board in relation to a particular matter. Such limits may be announced at the beginning of each matter posted on the agenda and can include setting a specific amount of time devoted to public comments for a particular item, announcing cutoff times for receipt of request to speak forms, reducing the amount of time per speaker, or other reasonable and content-neutral measures. You may send written comments by email to boardclerk@saccounty.gov. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. If you need an accommodation pursuant to the Americans with Disabilities Act or for medical or other reasons, please see clerk staff for assistance or contact the clerk's office at area code 916-874-5451 or by email at boardclerk@saccounty.gov. Thank you in advance for your courtesy and understanding of the meeting procedures.
Thank you. And we will have Dimitri from the Board of Supervisors lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. See? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And are there any announcements?
Yes, on today's agenda, we do have item 17, which is the approval of the Winding Ranch Final Map and Subdivision Improvement Agreement. The department would like to continue this item to June 9th, 2026, and we would require a vote to do so.
Okay. Please vote. All right, next item, please, or first item.
First item on our agenda today is Board of Supervisors Adoptable Pet Update.
Annette, I just have to say that he is so tender and sweet.
Good morning. Annette Besworth with Sacramento County Animal Care. And I don't think I really need to promote this dog. I think Supervisor Rosario is doing a great, fabulous job with that. Today we do have a special guest. I'm welcome here today by Brian, who works at the shelter. And we have this little dog named Dimitri.
Oh, he's so precious.
Dimitri is a poodle mix. who will become available today at noon. So any of you at lunchtime need a break, come over to the shelter. He's going to be made available for adoption. One thing we want to point out is with Dimitri, he's very cute, right? And just so you know that most of our animals at the Bradshaw Animal Shelter are cute. There's that, it's true, right? Is it true that they're cute?
He dressed his best.
Approximately 25 to 30% of the animals that we get at our shelter are purebred dogs. So I don't want people to think that we're just full of pit bulls or chihuahuas, because that's not the case. We have very popular dogs, and I'm sure there'll be people lined up to adopt him today at noon. People do watch our website at night because we make the animals available the night before on our website, and we do have the busiest website in Sacramento County, just to point that out. People are looking. His animal ID number is A919403, so be looking him up. He is a very fun and bouncy personality. He's only a year old, and how you determine the age of a dog is by looking at their teeth. So he's a very young dog. He does become, when you adopt from a shelter, he comes spayed, neutered, fully vaccinated, and microchipped. So that's such a bargain. As you hear different people who adopt animals out in the community, you may not realize it, but they do not come spayed or neutered only from a shelter. So we have a solution for that, because the cost of spay and neuter these days at a veterinarian's office will cost you upwards of $1,000. So why not come to the shelter, save a life, adopt a dog for less than $200, fully vaccinated and spayed and neutered. And I want to report out that last month when we brought Teo, he was adopted a couple days later.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yay. Well, I'm sure Dimitri won't last more than an hour.
No, I'll probably be texting you later this afternoon.
You know, I actually want to text you right now and say, oh my gosh, I want him.
There's somebody else there for you, too.
Supervisor Kennedy.
Yeah, while you're there,
Yes.
you want to mention what happened over the weekend?
Yes, we had Animal Care Fair on Saturday. By far our most successful in attendance Animal Care Fair. And we also provided free adoptions to the public. It was Roy Markham Animal Care Fair. We do this, this is our fourth time hosting the Animal Care Fair, which provided over 100 vendors on site with all animal-related materials. And we had free adoptions to promote our activities, and we ended up adopting out 35 pets that day.
Oh my gosh, yay.
So it was a very busy, successful day.
Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It looks like there's a lot of interest in adopting this little guy. And, you know, Supervisor Hume is a professional auctioneer, so maybe we should start the bidding.
Donations are always accepted.
Thank you, Annette.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Next item, please.
Next item is presentation of resolution honoring Dr. Olivia Kasiri upon the occasion of her retirement.
Good morning, members of the board. Tim Lutz, Director of Health Services, and it is truly bittersweet to be here this morning celebrating the retirement of Dr. Olivia Kasiri. On one side, it's wonderful celebrating this next milestone in her journey, the tremendous accomplishments that she's achieved here in Sacramento, and the legacy that she leaves behind. At the same time, I'm really sad to see such an incredible community leader and public health advocate leaving us, and certainly an incredible member of the DHS leadership team. Dr. Kasiri, or Dr. K as I typically call her, has a long and distinguished career in public health, spanning so many different programs. She started with Sacramento County Public Health actually as a volunteer. And then when she did come on board as staff, at first it was part-time, working to address infant mortality disparities among African-American babies. Then she came on full-time as the communicable disease controller and maternal, child, and adolescent health director. She left Sacramento briefly to come to serve as the El Dorado County Health Officer before she came back home to Sacramento as the County Health Officer in 2012. It was her leadership during COVID-19 pandemic, though, that really thrust her into the spotlight and what many Sacramento area residents will remember her most for. Almost overnight, Dr. K became a household name and the public face of local pandemic response, conducting countless media interviews, hosting community forums, providing regular updates to the Board of Supervisors, and meeting with school and business leaders to help them navigate the rapidly changing state and federal guidance. Most crucially, she led that response with tremendous grace, patience, compassion, and courage, all while staying focused on health equity and eliminating disparities across Sacramento County. COVID saw many of our public health leaders across the country stepping away from their roles due to stress, harsh criticism, and threats of violence. It is a testament to Dr. Kasirie's character and dedication to Sacramento and public health that she not only weathered such incredible pressure and challenge, but earned the respect and admiration of so many in the community as a result. Sacramento County owes her a debt of gratitude for her service. Dr. K, I want to thank you for your steadfast leadership, thoughtful approach, and dedication to the county and public health. You truly will be missed.
Thank you and good morning. I am Dr. Olivia Kasirie, County Health Officer for a few more weeks. Thank you, Chair Rodriguez and members of the board for this honor. It has indeed been a great privilege and honor to serve as the Sacramento County Health Officer, and I am grateful for the trust that you placed in my leadership and for the support that you have provided to public health over the years. I especially want to thank Supervisor Cerna and Supervisor Kennedy that I've worked with throughout my tenure, and especially through the tumultuous years of COVID response, and I really appreciate the support that you provided. I do not take it for granted. I've said that a lot of times, I say it again, and I'll forever be grateful for what we were able to achieve together. My last day at work will be June 26th. The new health officer starts on June 1st, so we will have about a month of overlap, during which I'm hoping to be able to provide a warm handoff. So when I started writing the list of people I wanted to thank, it grew so long that I had to cut it back to make sure that it fit on one page. So for anybody that I don't mention, forgive me, but I did want to be able to mention a lot of people that have supported me over the years. I want to start by acknowledging my family and friends. I do have some family members here. Can you stand up, please? Yeah. That's my husband, my son, my nephew, and his son. So really appreciate the support. And then, of course, there are others that have not been able to make it. My daughter lives in Dallas and is probably sleeping after work. And they're not able to be here, but without their support and encouragement, I couldn't have made it this far. I also want to acknowledge the public health staff, and yes, I'm going to embarrass you and ask you to stand up, those who are here. Come on. And thank you for those who are able to come. There are many I know who are listening, and there are many who are out working, saving lives. What an incredible journey we have had working together. I feel so lucky to have had such a fantastic team that I could depend on over the years. I do appreciate your dedication and commitment to excellence in everything that you do to keep our communities safe and healthy. You inspire me every day, and I appreciate you. I'd like to thank my immediate supervisors. I do have people who supervise me. Director Tim Lutz, Deputy County Executive Siobhan Kothari, and CEO David Villanueva. I really appreciate your support and your openness to hearing my concerns and taking my input and the support that you have given public health. I also want to thank, I know he's not here, but he was my county counsel during COVID, Rick Heyer, because he helped me through navigate some really tough times, and so just want to thank him. I also want to thank Environmental Management Department because we work so closely together on so many investigations, outbreaks, and I thank you for all the work that you do and for the collaboration. I also want to give a special thank you to my mentors and those that have opened doors for me, Dr. Fred Hodges, Dr. Mark Schenker, Dr. Patrick Romero, Dr. Glenna Trichet, Dr. Mark Horton, and thank you, Ann Edwards, if you're listening, because you're the one who hired me. I want to thank the community and for the many CBOs that we have worked with over many projects, gone through a lot of tough times, and also seen a lot of successes. And during COVID, so many people sent us messages. I know there's a lot of focus sometimes on some of the negative attention that we got, but so many people sent us messages of encouragement, and so many volunteered their time to help us to set up a coordinated system in the community to provide vaccinations, testing, information, and other resources to help manage the unprecedented pandemic and to help save lives. I especially want to thank a few people that I actually had on speed dial, and they were always ready and willing to assist me with anything that I needed, no matter what time I called, no matter what hour I called. Chet Hewitt from Sierra Health Foundation, Dr. Stuart Cohen from UC Davis, Dr. John Belko from Kaiser, Brian Jensen from Hospital Council, Dr. Jonathan Porteous from WellSpace, and Dr. Flo Kofer from Public Health Advocates. I really appreciate all the help that you provided, and again, thank you. Special thank you also. I work a lot with policymakers, but there are a few that I worked real closely with, and those are Dr. Richard Pan, who was in the state assembly, Assembly member Stephanie Wen, and Congresswoman Doris Matsui. I thank you all for your support as well, if you are listening, because you really supported public health and helped us through difficult times. Finally, to the new incoming health officer, Dr. Fong Lu, as you take on the monumental task of managing multiple challenges and threats, from monitoring deadly diseases like hantavirus and Ebola to navigating budget uncertainties, your plate is certainly going to be full and overflowing. Just remember that you have a whole mighty armor of support, both in the staff and in the community, to help you. And just remember to take a breath, to stop once in a while and take a breath and take care of yourself. And I wish you the best success. So thank you again, supervisors, for the opportunity, and thank you, everybody, for your support. I don't do this work by myself, and I really appreciate everything that everyone does. Thank you.
One moment, Dr. Casaria. Supervisor Serna?
I think it's going to be more than one moment. You can have a few people want to chime in. Good morning, Dr. Kay. It's great always to see you, and I'm going to regret not being able to say that after a few weeks, but certainly the fact that your career is closing, at least formally. I think the first thing I want to say is I think we all in these chambers and beyond can agree that you're going to be able to look back on a legacy that has been very effective. It's been tempered by your humility, a really unique brand of it, I would say, that more of us, myself included, could stand to take note of and take some clues. You and I had just by chance, had a very interesting 2020. I was then chair of the board, and we had to sit at this dais together along with the sheriff and others and announce to 1.6 million people that Sacramento County was shutting down essentially, and that we were going to have to swiftly learn how to continue to provide essential services, but do it in a way that was not going to contribute to the extent of the virus surging. So that was something I certainly never could have expected running for office initially. I'm not sure that even a health officer might expect to see in her career. It hadn't happened to any of us in a century. So I'll always look back at that time and really relish the fact that I firmly believe we had the most qualified, excellent public health officer when it was most needed anywhere in the state of California. You and your extremely capable staff were just plain remarkable in terms of your creativeness, your ability to, in many respects, reinvent the administration of services. And a lot of that had to be done with so much noise coming at both of us, all of us, in terms of some misplaced media scrutiny, some folks in the community who disagreed with aspects of how we, the county, were trying to respond to a historic pandemic, including the need for and acceptance of vaccinations. We actually had people break down the doors of these chambers to express their frustration with where this county was being led by you to make sure that we minimized the spread of disease and minimize death. I would argue that today versus before the pandemic, all of us have a much greater elevated appreciation for what a public health officer does and what a public health department does at a county level. If there's any silver lining that came from COVID, it's the fact that we have that appreciation. I'm hoping that we don't have to learn again by way of another pandemic anytime soon, but I think that newfound respect for the profession is going to last for a long time, and certainly here in Sacramento County, it's going to be enhanced by the person that was leading our effort, and that's you. One thing I don't think Tim mentioned was the fact that you and I have also had the unique experience of serving on the First Five Commission for several years that I've been chairing for 15 years. And there you've been able to educate the rest of the commission. You've been able to really apply some critical thinking to what it means to implement the vision of our first 5 commission relative to especially infant health and mortality reduction. You and I have had private conversations about the effort that I've tried to lead over the years, along with many others, to specifically target Black infant health and ensuring that health disparities based on race is something that hopefully in the future won't be something that characterizes this great community. We have lots of work to be done in that space. I know you know that. You thanked Chet Hewitt with Sierra Health Foundation, as well as some others who have been part of that effort. And again, I think your legacy is going to be one that you can be very, very proud of. I'm really happy to see your family in Chambers. I think this might be the first time I've seen them in Chambers. Maybe not. Maybe when you were first appointed. I'm not sure. But it's great to see your support system away from your county family to see your actual family here. I know that has been your steadfast pillar for you to get through some of the toughest of times, just like the rest of us. You're going to be sorely missed, but again, I will look back with a great deal of fondness after my retirement from this board in just a few months, especially during the COVID years that we had you in our corner. And when I say we, I mean all of us in Sacramento County. It's a very well-deserved retirement, and I'm very proud to call you a friend, a colleague, and I thank you for all your service.
Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Kasiri, I'm only speaking now because I want to draw this out because I know how you love the spotlight. While much of what we have done together as a board and you emanates from the pandemic and COVID. I actually was a big fan before I was a member of the Board of Supervisors as a member of a Board of Education, and the work you've done in schools, particularly with tuberculosis, that really changed the dynamic of school districts and the county, and particularly public health, and that conversation, and that was strictly because of the work that you did. I want to also address, as Supervisor Cerna did, your family. We often talk about the sacrifices that military families make, and when we're talking about thank you for your service to the military, we also pay homage to the sacrifices that families make. Your family's no different. You got us through a pandemic as well, so thank you for your service. When we were going through the pandemic, I probably spoke with you for a year and a half, as much as anyone short of my wife. Not to worry, sir. But it was never a member of the Board of Supervisors to public health officer. It was always, how can I get your advice? How can you help me lead through this? And you always did it with great grace and accountability. And you talk about the fact, and at the time, think about it. We were literally building the plane as we were flying it, and I can't think of a better pilot. So, I want to thank you for your dedication to our community. You have literally saved more lives in Sacramento County than any other individual in the 175 years we've been in existence. Thank you.
So, Dr. Kasiri, I want to give my own personal testimony about you. So I was a restaurant owner in 2020, but very concerned about some of the issues that we were experiencing because I was tracking numbers by zip code, and I was one of those strong advocates of let's go to zip codes and let us put the resources where the challenging areas are. And I think I emailed both Phil and Supervisor Kennedy and the other supervisors at the time, probably on a weekly basis, in addition to you, because it was more about how can we start opening up the county when we were experiencing El Dorado County and Placer County had opened up, and now you've got an influx of people that are leaving Sac County to go to really what was literally half a mile from where my restaurant was located. And so I sent a lot of emails, but you responded. And I so appreciate you had Zoom meetings at night around, I think it was like 6:30, 7 o'clock. You had Zoom meetings where you would answer a lot of questions to the public about what was going on, what was happening, why there was a delay in Sac County, and so many of the other reasons. And what it did is it really subsided the anxiety of not being able to open during a time when there was opening up in other areas. And it was really stressful for not just myself, but it was so many other restaurant owners, in addition to the smoke. It was a smoky year. We had high burns, and so people could go sit outside. But if you went outside, now you're dealing with the heavy, intense smoke. And so, but here's what I appreciate. I appreciated your response to emails, and I appreciated your response to public questions and concerns about what was going on, because information is so critical during those times. And you probably had many more emails coming through, but I was just a small restaurant owner in the northeast part of the county, and I appreciated your communication, and I think it really says a lot about your leadership and your response to the public when the public is having so many questions and concerns about what was happening in our region. So I thank you for that, and you will definitely be missed. And I got to say that when I was doing my tours of the county and I met you, it really kind of felt like I was meeting a celebrity, because Dr. Kasiri was oh my gosh, you were on the news so much, and you had such a huge responsibility to ensure that we were saving lives at a time when there was a lot of unknowns about what was happening. And so I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate your response. And I am grateful for your time with Sacramento County. Supervisor Hume?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. The first thing I'd like to say is, wow, you must have used like 3-point font, because how you fit everything that you said onto one page was amazing. But people ask me, they go, how do you do that job? And I'm not comparing the job of a supervisor to the job of a health officer, but it takes a certain person to suffer the slings and arrows, as it were. And I think even in the best of times, a health officer's position is fraught with armchair quarterbacks, with naysayers, with conspiracy theorists, with people of differing opinions, whether they're based in science or fact or not. And then you throw on top of it a global pandemic that, unfortunately, like everything in our society these days, became politicized. And you were at the crosshairs. And I don't mean that in any kind of literal, I'm not suggesting anything other than the fact that you were at the corner of Main and Main with the response as the public face. And the burden you must have carried for that cannot be measured, I don't believe. And so I, too, thank the family for everything that you did to help her through that time, to help her remain grounded in her position. And I thank you for your service, and I hope no other health officer, at least for another century or beyond, has to go through that. So thank you for your service to the county.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Kasiri. Anyone want photos with her? Oh, what was that? Oh, yes, a photo.
Yes, please.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next item, please.
We are now on item 3, presentation of resolution to approve a proclamation declaring the week of May 17th through 23rd as National Public Works Week.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. My name is Claudia Wade, County Engineer for the County of Sacramento and the immediate past President of the American Public Works Association, APWA. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize National Public Works Week celebrated this year from May 17th through May 23rd. At this time, I would like to read the proclamation. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the County of Sacramento. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees to all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, flood control management, parks and grounds, emergency management and first response, right-of-way management, airports, transit services, and fleet management, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the County of Sacramento to gain knowledge and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works programs in our community. Whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Whereas APWA has selected Rooted in Service, Powered by Community as a theme for 2026 National Public Works Week, which acknowledges that the roots of service runs deep in public works. And these efforts for the foundation of thriving communities is a reminder that every project, seen or unseen, powers the connection between service and the people it supports. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Sacramento, State of California, hereby declares the week of May 17th to the 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week. So thank you, Chair and members of the board, for providing us this opportunity to recognize National Public Works Week and the many dedicated public works professionals who serve our communities every day. They are the unsung heroes. You only hear about them when there's problems. Yeah. So all the days that you hear, they're diligently working out there. At this time, I would like to introduce the current president of the Sacramento chapter of APWA, Ashley Orsaba Finders, who will share more about APWA, this year's National Public Works Week theme, and recognize 3 of our very own Sacramento County recipients of the APWA Manager of the Year Awards, who will be receiving the actual award tomorrow night at a banquet.
Yes. Good morning.
Thank you for having me, supervisors. As Claudia stated, I'm the current president of the American Public Works Association, Sacramento chapter. So our chapter is everywhere from the Oregon border south to San Joaquin County. And Sacramento County has such an important role as not only the center of our state leadership, but also amazing people that you have that work for the county, such as Claudia, as well as the other staff in airports, community development, parks, special districts, transportation, that flood control, that really provide these essential services to the community. And so on behalf of APWA, really wanted to thank you, the board, as well as everyone else, for your support of the public works community, because without public works, emergency services can't function, and our long-term infrastructure that supports our daily lives also doesn't work. So thank you for your support. And as Claudia noted, we do have 3 Sacramento County employees that did receive Manager of the Year awards. So wanted to share a little bit about them. Christina Willington, you wanted to stand up? So Christina is receiving a Manager of the Year for administrative management. A lot of times the admin folks, they're not at the front lines, but they're the ones who make sure things get done on the back end. That people get paid, that phones are answered, that all of the paperwork happens. So your role is vital, even though you're not boots on the ground or you're not in front of press conferences. And so acknowledging the importance of administrative management is what we really wanted to do with Christina. So she has provided exceptional administrative leadership and support to Community Development Department and its divisions, including construction materials and inspection, code enforcement, planning, and building permits and inspections. Through her leadership in streamlining admin operations, implementing digital solutions such as Excella, and promoting sustainable business practices, she has significantly improved the efficiency and modernized the department processes that support public works services across the county. So congratulations and well-deserved, Christina.
Ashley, let's have the 3 awardees come up so that, yeah, that's great.
So we have Christina, we have Melissa Jones, and we have Jennifer Claiborne. And as we wait for everyone to come down, I think it's amazing that we have 3 women that are receiving these awards, because Public Works is probably 90% dominated by men. So this is amazing. So for Melissa Jones, she is receiving a Manager of the Year for Transportation. She's been with SAC DOT since 2008. In her current role with DOT, she's a principal civil engineer and oversees the delivery of DOT's capital improvement program, which currently has more than $125 million in construction contract work currently underway, and an additional $400 million in upcoming projects that are in design and project development. So that's a lot of infrastructure that she's leading. Under her leadership, DOT has delivered some of the largest, most complex, and regionally significant projects in the history of the county, including projects such as the I-5 Metro Air Park Way interchange, the 47th Avenue ped and bike improvements, Hazel Avenue widening phase 3, Fair Oaks Boulevard complete streets, Elkhorn Boulevard extension to the airport, and the Elk Grove Florin widening Gerber to Florin Road. So again, she manages a huge program of projects, and thank you again. And last but not least, Jennifer Claiborne is receiving Manager of the Year for Solid Waste. She has more than 15 years in solid waste management and is a proven public service leader with progressive experience in waste management, operations, regulatory compliance, and strategic program development. She is skilled in managing large-scale budgets, leads a team of over 200 staff, and delivers countywide initiatives that improve efficiency, compliance, and customer service. She's recognized for collaborative leadership, policy expertise, and the ability to drive innovation, such as organics compliance under SB 1383, equipment in-cab technologies, and resource recovery programs. Her collaborative efforts have improved efficiency, enhanced customer service, and fostered a culture of inclusion, engagement, and innovation. She's a trusted leader and invaluable asset to the county and its customers. Beyond the county, Jennifer is engaged with the local solid waste organization leadership and has served as the local chapter public sector director for the Solid Waste Association of North America. So thank you, Jennifer, for your valuable work for the solid waste industry and Public Works.
Okay, thank you very much for Congratulations on your awards. And we'll be honoring you guys tomorrow, but you guys are all amazing leaders and a role model for those in following your footsteps. So thank you very much.
Claudia, one moment, ladies, one moment. Claudia, you're right. When we get complaints around public works, it's usually because something's not working out. But what people don't know is oftentimes all the things that work well. So it's so true. And it is quite a big deal to have 3 individuals from the county being recognized at APWA. I did join dinner a couple years ago and realized it's a really big deal. And so, Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Claudia, for bringing this. I'm very happy to hear the presentation, and congratulations to Jennifer, Melissa, Christina on this award. You know, a lot of people don't realize how large Sacramento County Public Works is. I mean, we probably have a larger public works structure than most counties in the state of California, including urban counties, just by virtue of the amount of unincorporated population we have. And they do such an amazing job, everybody at every level. And Christina, especially, it's great that they are honoring you on the admin side, because that is so crucial. But for most people in the county, in the unincorporated communities, their impression of government is formed by their interaction with the public works employee, the person maybe filling the pothole or directing them at NARS where they need to go, what they need to do, or maybe give them a citation for an unsecured load, or maybe the plan checker or the person inspecting your property improvement. And they do such a wonderful job. And I tell you, I would stack our public works professionals against those in any jurisdiction in the state of California. And so I hope they all really enjoy this recognition of what they do, because it is really, really crucial, and I know all of us on this board appreciate it so much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you, Chair. I too want to add my congratulations to the award recipients. But as the resident photographer up here, I have to object to the fact that we have 3 extremely capable women who obviously deserve the recognition today. But we've got this slide of what appears to be a dude at the controls of heavy machinery. So we got to make sure we have more appropriate visuals in the future.
We do have a video. You'll
Good.
see some
All
women
right.
in there.
Thanks.
All right. It looks like there will be a photo of you all taken.
We still have some to show. Oh, if I may, we have a little bit more to the presentation, if we
Okay.
could.
Yeah,
We have a
absolutely.
video to show.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you. As you mentioned, we're recognizing several outstanding leaders, and the Public Works is truly a team effort involving many dedicated employees across the county. And to help recognize the people behind Public Works, we'd like to share a short video montage featuring staff across our departments.
I'm Sean McQuaid. I work in traffic controls, and we make sure traffic moves safely through Sacramento County.
I'm Mario Moreno. I help maintain the county regional parks. I help keep it safe, clean, and green.
My name is Mike Elia. I'm a maintenance worker at the Sacramento International Airport, and we maintain all the taxiways, the runways, and the roadways.
My name's Stephen Newman. I'm here with Sacramento County Drainage Maintenance. I help protect the areas around our natural waterways, and it helps prevent flooding and fires from spreading to nearby areas.
I'm Raleigh Moyer. I'm a mechanical engineer with Sacramento County, and I'm a project manager for supporting our existing facilities.
My name is Elizabeth Topete, and I'm a land survey intern for community development. I help verify and collect data that helps support infrastructure construction and development projects throughout the county.
My name is Rosanna Sazo. I work at North Area Recovery Station. I am specifically trained in household hazardous materials, and we are here to collect your waste so they can properly be disposed of or recycled.
My name is Aaron Jarnes, and I'm a water treatment operator with the County of Sacramento. My job is to maintain and monitor the water supply in the County of Sacramento.
My work matters to the community because we create a space where people can make memories.
My team's job is to keep everybody safe.
When a storm hits or a fire starts, the work that we do here ahead of time matters.
I support construction projects and facilities that people use every single day throughout the county.
The work we do helps lay the foundation for future projects in our community.
People depend on reliable traffic signals.
We keep hazardous waste chemicals out of our homes, neighborhoods, and environments.
To me, service means showing up.
Doing the work even when no one sees it.
Being dependable.
Protecting my community and environment every day.
Taking pride in what we do.
We may work in different places,
but we're connected by the same purpose.
We're rooted in service.
And powered by the community we serve.
So I want to thank everyone who participated in the video and Ken Kasparis, who orchestrated that. He did an amazing job. And to all the public works professionals whose efforts often happen behind the scenes that make tremendous difference in our community. I would also like to recognize the many employees, managers, directors, and public works professionals here today representing departments across Sacramento County. Thank you for all that you do for our community. And if you can all please stand and give them a round of applause. And there are many that are watching today. I would like to give you a coaster which has our theme for this year, which was designed by the Sacramento chapter. That concludes our presentation, and if it's okay at this time, if all of us here representing Public Works can take a picture with the board?
Absolutely, and I do have a comment from Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously you were spot on in terms of, or someone said it earlier, about 90% of those that are employed in Public Works generally tend to be male. That's reflected in the video. What I would like to humbly suggest here is Sacramento County, for those that may not know, actually has a commission on the status of women and girls. So we have 3 very exceptional people standing in front of us that are doing phenomenal work for the county who happen to be female. I would like to just plant a seed and suggest maybe there's an intersection between the high achieving folks that we have on our side in Public Works that happen to be female, and maybe working with that commission, the leadership in that commission, to see if there's any opportunity to help, I don't know, educate or enlighten, especially young girls, on future careers in civil engineering and various professional aspects of what it means to work in Public Works. So I just wanted to put that out there.
That's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we all have a passion and would love to just lead other generations to do what we're doing. So thank you.
That's a great idea. All right, we'll be down there. Next item, please.
All right. We are on to item 4, presentation of resolutions recognizing the Adult and Aging Commission 5/50 awards.
So, Todd, how do you want to do this? Do we want each supervisor to go down there and present it?
Yeah, we can certainly do it that way.
All right, we could start with District 1.
District 1.
So will Antonio Lopez please join me at the podium? So colleagues and members of the public here, I want to present to you Antonio Lopez. She's District 1's honoree for the outstanding 5/50 volunteer of 2026. I am going to read the whereases and the resolve on this because I think they're words that speak very clearly to the passion that Antonia has exhibited for years, especially in the space of health and safety for seniors. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Whereas volunteer citizen participation contributes to thriving, age-friendly, and welcoming communities. And whereas volunteers over age 50 bring experience, knowledge, and skills that help the County of Sacramento achieve its vision of being an engaged, safe, informed, and livable community. And whereas Antonia Lopez has dedicated more than 15 years to advancing the health, independence, and quality of life of older adults in Sacramento County through exceptional volunteer leadership. And whereas Antonio Lopez has coordinated quarterly health education programs on diabetes, health, heart health, brain health, nutrition, and social engagement in partnership with the UC Davis Alzheimer's Research Center and the Pointer Study, while also removing barriers to care by facilitating vision and hearing screenings, securing adaptive equipment, and obtaining paratransit passes for 24 members. And whereas Antonio Lopez has served in multiple leadership roles, including secretary, vice president, and president of the Manitos Senior Group at the Ethel McLeod Hart Senior Center, where her culturally responsive leadership promotes equity, dignity, and well-being for all members. And whereas Antonio Lopez fosters a welcoming and inclusive environment for people of diverse backgrounds and ages, consistently sharing helpful resources, organizing community workshops, contributing creative touches such as handmade paper flowers, and bringing a positive, compassionate spirit that has made a lasting impact on the Manitos Senior Group and the broader Sacramento community. So now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Sacramento, State of California, hereby honors Antonio Lopez as an outstanding 5/50 volunteer of 2026 in the service to the community of Sacramento County. Thank you, Antonio, for all you do.
So I'm 79 and didn't know that retirement was going to be so rewarding and so fulfilling. I know that all of us who are volunteers don't do it because it's a job, but we do it because it's a passion, because it allows us to continue to contribute to all those that we love and that surround us and who make this community better. So it is not for the reward or the acknowledgement, it's for the service. And so I appreciate very much this honor, unexpected as it is. Thank you very much.
By the way, I'm well over 50, so I might be looking you up here shortly.
District 2.
District 2.
Yes, would Shirley Fong please join me? Don't worry, you get used to the pom-poms. So I find myself in a similar position as Supervisor Cerna in that normally I like to shorten these things up, but if you read the resolution, it was really difficult to do, so bear with me. I'm going to read more than I normally would, but that's because of the amazing accomplishments of the woman next to me. Shirley Fong has been one of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Sacramento's most exemplary volunteers for the past 7 years, contributing nearly 5,000 hours in support of affordable home ownership, housing stability, and community revitalization through application reviews, home visits, major fundraising events, and hands-on construction and repair work. Since retiring in 2023, Shirley has volunteered full-time as a key member of Habitat's construction teams, demonstrating exceptional skill, resilience, and a can-do attitude while completing every phase of home building, including framing, siding, trim cabinetry, flooring, and interior and exterior painting, consistently working through challenging weather and job site conditions. Due to her technical expertise, leadership ability, and unwavering commitment, she has elevated the role of core volunteer, where she mentors first-time volunteers, supports Habitat site supervisors, promotes safety, and fosters an encouraging environment that leaves volunteers confident, inspired, and proud of their contributions. Shirley's impact extends far beyond new home construction, contributing to neighborhood revitalization, senior home repairs, Rock the Block community improvement events, the Playhouse Build program, and Habitat's all-volunteer electrical crew, all while bringing generosity, humility, and a positive spirit that strengthens families, preserves neighborhoods, and advances Habitat's mission to build homes, communities, and hope throughout Sacramento County. A lot of us talk about affordable housing. Shirley gets it done because, quite frankly, she's badass.
I wasn't prepared to speak, but I want to just thank everybody. I really enjoy volunteering. It's something I've always wanted to do my entire life, is to give back to the community in which I grew up in. I've not lived anywhere else except Sacramento County, Sacramento City of Sacramento, and I really enjoy working for the Habitat family that I have, my second family. I really enjoy also working, helping families be able to get an affordable house. It's really heartwarming to watch the dedications, and it's emotional for me that I can help a family get into a home. We build relationships while we're working together on their home, and so it's really rewarding. Sorry, I don't have much to say. My second family.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I feel compelled to give her a bag of sugar and a loaf of bread.
June 6th, we're having a dedication in Citrus Heights.
One more.
Picture with you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, Patrick.
All right, District 3.
Oh, well, I just learned something. Okay, well, good morning, everybody, and please thank you. First, I want to thank the Adult and Aging Commission for sponsoring this every year. This is just a wonderful event, and I know it takes a lot of work for you to coordinate this, so thank you for doing this. This is really great to recognize amazing volunteers, one of whom is with me here, Jody Sato King, who I just found out is the cousin of our Department of Water Resources director. Oh, well, there was no, I didn't know that before we gave her this award, just to make that clear. I'll chalk this up to the how do you make lemonade out of lemons kind of category here, because Jody and I's relationship was born out of a pretty profound conflict we had out in Sailor Bar. You all recall that our park director, Liz Bellis, is Liz here? Liz should actually be up here with me at the podium. We were going to open up some roads in Sailor Bar, roads that have been closed down for an awful lot of time, and Jody led the charge in the neighborhood to oppose it, but you offered to work with the county on how can we increase access for people, but in a more positive way that doesn't cause potential issues. And we became, I would say, friends and great partners, and you turned that experience into something so positive because of your dedication to our parkway. And I see a lot of the Friends of Sailor Bar folks back there, and at the end of this I want to get a picture with you and then have them all come down for a picture as well. So I too will read from some of the language in the resolution. Jody, in response to a proposal to reintroduce vehicular access to Sailor Bar's internal gravel roads, organized thousands of community members to protect the park's natural and cultural resources while also championing sustainable strategies to increase visitation. By the way, I couldn't drive anywhere in my district without seeing those signs everywhere, so that was challenging. Jody built strong partnerships with Regional Parks Director Liz Bellis, my office leading Friends of Sailor Bar to raise more than $30,000 for 19 benches and tables to enhance accessibility for visitors of all ages and abilities, while also mobilizing volunteers to restore vegetation at the Turtle Pond and collaborating with state and regional agencies to remove a rock dam to improve salmon migration. As a matter of fact, at the dedication of those benches and tables, I was there, as was our county exec, and I think Congressman Ami Berra. It was a wonderful event a couple months ago. Jody has continued to enrich the visitor experience by organizing interpretive programs at Sailor Bar and supporting broader American River Parkway initiatives, including helping to raise $40,000 for the Pathway to Play Sensory Trail at Gibson Ranch, demonstrating her commitment to inclusive, community-centered recreation that is not just limited to Sailor Bar. It expands to our entire regional park system here. Jody's leadership in fundraising, public engagement, and environmental stewardship, this has resulted in lasting improvements to habitat, visitor amenities, and public understanding of the park's ecological significance. And I'm honored and proud to recognize you for your outstanding volunteerism and service to the community as part of our 5 over 50 award this year. Thank you, Jody.
So
now you have 10 minutes for remarks.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. All this would have not happened without your leadership. Thank you. And I am really honored to receive this award, and I'm receiving it in behalf of the Friends of Sailor Bar, because without the Friends of Sailor Bar here, we would not be able to do what we're doing. So thank you.
All right, come on down. Let's get the Sailor Bar group down here.
I think that's the rest of the lemonade, right?
That's right. Oh. Alan, come over here.
All right, and I will have Ed Valencia meet me in the front for District 4. Hi, Ed. How are you? Good morning, everyone. I, too, could not condense what was written on this resolution, so I'm going to read some of the highlights. Ed Valencia is a lifelong Rio Linda resident and has dedicated more than 4 decades to community service, beginning in 1979 when he joined the Lions Club of Rio Linda at the age of 24, and has since served in numerous leadership roles, including president and secretary, while leading long-standing projects such as the Ruby's Basket Christmas program to support families in need. Ed has dedicated many years to youth programs, serving as a coach and board member for Rio Linda Little League, coaching youth football and Bobby Sox softball, and positively shaping generations of young people through his steady presence, mentorship, and commitment to creating opportunity for local youth. Ed Valencia's service extends beyond organized programs through his stewardship of Troy Grand Park, his leadership in the Lions Club Vision Service Program, and his coordination of eyeglass collection for the Folsom Project, which is a state prison project, for the virtually impaired efforts that ensure access to clean, safe public spaces and restore vision and independence for individuals locally and around the world. Lifelong commitment to service is marked not only by his leadership roles and volunteer achievement, but by his humility, consistency, and genuine care for others, qualities that have made him a trusted mentor and dependable neighbor and a steady source of support for countless programs through Rio Linda. So when I got elected into this position about 15 months ago, I really appreciated that Ed would see me and remind me that there was an event or a program. And when you have individuals that go out of their way to ensure that you attend it, you show up. And so, Ed, I appreciate your communication. I appreciate the service that you have done. Rio Linda is a very special place. And I tell people because of the people that serve the communities and how they give back, and there are so many incredible organizations that do a great job for the residents of Rio Linda. And you are one of those who has made it a very special place to serve as a county supervisor, because there are you are one of those many that are engaged in making the community better. So thank you for what you do. And would you like to say a few words?
I would just like to say I am truly honored. I wish I could say it was all on me, but I have people from my club that's been serving, helping, been being there for me. The Ruby's Baskets, we serve our community and help people at Christmas time. Like the Duke's Car Club, they come out and do a car show and get us presents for the kids, because we give presents at the same time we give food for Ruby's Baskets. Without my community, without the people in it, I couldn't do the things that I do, and I'm very happy to say that I'm a Rio Linda Alliance, and thank you very much for this award. And thank you.
Oh, thank you, Anne, for letting me do it. Let's move over a little bit to the center. So that way. Right on. So which camera are we looking at? Oh. Well, move down. One, yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Good job, Ed.
1, 2. Come on, Forrest.
Yes. Thank you, Forrest.
Okay, one more. You guys are
No.
so good. You're gonna get one more. Can't recognize this phone.
On this one.
Thank
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, the wind died down.
And last but not least, District 5.
Your moment now.
That's my moment.
Thank you for participating in this, and you know, this is a difficult thing to do for us because we don't pick. I mean, we choose but we don't pick who to nominate. That comes from your friends, from your colleagues, from people who look at these volunteers and realize that they're doing really great work. And so, two things that I had in my mind as I was looking at the people I could choose from this year. Number one was character. And you are just a person of humility and service in every time I've met you. And I thought that was an important criteria to hold up as we consider this. And the second thing that was important for me is I had an applicant whose work benefits the County of Sacramento and the airports and all of the travelers that travel through SMF. And so that was an important consideration for me. So I am excited to recognize Dave King from Elk Grove as this year's District 5 winner of the 5 over 50 awards. Dave has served as a dedicated Sacramento International Airport ambassador since 2017 and takes great pride in representing Sacramento County to travelers. For 8 years, he has welcomed and assisted people in both terminals of SMF and is known for being a calming presence and a reliable volunteer. And I can attest for that. You have just a gentle demeanor about you that if I'm stressed, I need some information, and you're standing there to give it to me, I know that it's going to be an enjoyable interaction. Dave also helps train new airport ambassadors, being especially helpful during the post-pandemic rebuilding period when extra support was greatly needed. His guidance helped new recruits learn the airport environment and prepare to fly solo with confidence. Dave regularly steps up for extra shifts during peak travel times and also serves as an escort for SMF's Holiday Musician Program, which is a great feature, by the way. I love going into the airport and seeing musicians just make it a little more of a welcoming environment. As the Airport Ambassador Program celebrates its 25th anniversary, Dave stands out as a model of public service and a friendly face to welcome visiting travelers or those coming back home. Thank you, Dave, for your dedication to Sacramento County. And this is the official proclamation with all the whereases and whatnots and things that are included in that. Okay. That's right.
Especially the boss.
Yes. Taking one thing, stepping backwards upstairs.
Get everybody in.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the recognition. And a white man once told me that two things. One is that a community can't be any stronger than its weakest link. And the other thing was that your time is one of the most valuable things you can provide and give somebody. I'm grateful to do it.
Thank you. And Dawn, would you like to share a little about the program? I understand we have a video.
Yes. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Dawn Angelo. I'm Chair of the Adult and Aging Commission. Just really grateful for this opportunity. One of the things that we do as part of the commission, and I've been a member of the commission for 3 years now, is the 5 over 50 awards, and doing that in collaboration with all of you. And I think as you heard the variety of stories and the ways from each of these honorees and what they're doing in the community, it's such a testament to the importance of these individuals and so many more just like them that are doing work. They're not looking for the recognition. They're not looking to be celebrated, but we're so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do that. And to the point of, that their friends or family are submitting those nominations, I can probably pretty much guess that every single one of them here today would say, oh, I don't deserve that. And that's what makes it even sweeter, is because we all know that they do. And so, again, really appreciate this opportunity to be able to do that. And then I think we do have a video. And then just a note for organization, after the video, if all the award winners could come up for a group photo.
Absolutely.
Well, the Heart Center is looked at as the hub of the older adult services for the city of Sacramento. I joined as a volunteer with, bringing my mom. We have a board of 10 people who are all volunteers. We're all ourselves are seniors. I am grateful. I do it as a service for others, but really it's a service for me. It keeps me in touch and able to do the kinds of things that I feel I can contribute.
About a year and a half before I retired, they said, plan on what you want to do when you retire, or kind of start it before you retire. So you don't just go home and stay stagnant. You do something, but don't do something that you already enjoy. Do something different. So that's when I started with Habitat. I didn't have any construction knowledge at all. Doing painting, I've done siding, I've done flooring. Out here, I like working with the homeowners. They're really fun, interesting. We get to know each other pretty well, being out here 5 days a week.
I have an aunt, Kyo Sato, who is 103, to be 104 in 2 months. She gives the advice to stay young, keep moving, follow your passion, and keep following your passion. When we come together and we use our skills and our passion to be able to enrich this community, especially right here at Sailor Bar, by making it more accessible for people and educating people to respect and enjoy nature, that is so rewarding, and I love it. Right here in Fair Oaks, part of Sacramento County, we have a phenomenal, loving, compassionate community.
I've been a Lion since 1978, and we raise money to give money away. So when people need help with whatever they do, they come to the club, they ask us for help, we vote on it, and we usually give them money. We sponsor not only Ruby's Baskets, but we do Little League, youth football, any community organization that needs help. Any money that we raise in this community has to go back into the community. So we try to help out wherever we can. I've been out here all my life in Rio Linda, and it's a small community, and I've always wanted to help out community people. So that's what we do as a service club.
Well, I was getting ready to retire, and so I was starting to think about something to do, like something that would be fun. And it's turned out to be a lot of fun, over the 9 years of just helping people. That most people are a little stressed sometimes, and they're looking for, just simple questions. I think I've recruited a handful of people already to come in, and my friends that come love it for the same reasons. It's a very positive environment.
All right, congratulations to the awardees. Next item, please.
Did you want to do the photo?
Sure. Oh, yeah, the photo. Sorry, thank you.
Guess we're going down. Are we going down? Are we going down with them? Oh.
Thank you. Bill?
I don't know what they wanted.
Okay, we'll go down and join them to take the photo.
I don't almost thought, should I wear painting clothes?
Now we can go to the next item.
Next on our agenda is number 5, presentation of resolution recognizing Older Americans Month. Champion Your Health.
Madam Chair, can Supervisor Desmond accept this award?
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today as we recognize Older Americans Month, a time when communities across the country pause to honor the contributions, resilience, and wisdom of older adults. And as a proud member of the Over 60 Club, this month carries a special meaning for me. I'm here today on behalf of Senior and Adult Services, a division of the Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services, where I serve as a program planner working to implement the local Aging and Disability Action Plan. The LADAP, approved by the Board of Supervisors in February of last year, reflects our country's commitment to building communities where people of all ages and abilities can thrive. This year's Older Americans Month theme, Champion Your Health, reminds us that health is about so much more than medical care. It's about connection. It's about purpose. It's about mobility, safety, and the ability to live with dignity in the community you call home. And here in Sacramento County, we have both the opportunity and the responsibility to make that vision real for every older adult and every person with disability. That work happens every day with Senior and Adult Services, and it's strengthened by the local Aging and Disability Action Plan. Our roadmap for creating a community where older adults and people with disabilities can stay connected, supported, and safe. Senior and Adult Services work directly supports Older Americans Month and this year's theme, Champion Your Health. When older adults have transportation, social connection, caregiver support, and trusted community resources, they're better able to manage chronic conditions, stay active, and maintain independence. And when caregivers have the support they need, their own health and well-being improve too. Sacramento County is a home to a rapidly growing population of older adults and people with disabilities. They are veterans, parents, grandparents, workers, volunteers, and culture keepers. They deserve systems that honor their contribution and support their well-being. As we celebrate Older American Month, I invite the board to continue championing policies and partnerships that strengthen aging and disability-friendly communities. Support for community-based organizations, transportation solutions, caregiver resources, and inclusive programming all contribute to a healthier, more connected Sacramento. Thank you for your leadership and for recognizing the importance of creating a county where people can age with dignity, safety, and joy. Together, we ensure that Sacramento is not only a place where people grow older, but a place where they thrive as they do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Dr. Julie Bates. I'm the Assistant Director at the Agency on Aging Area 4. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning to celebrate Older Americans Month and to recognize the 5 over 50. It's a pleasure to celebrate the 50-plus community. They are our neighbors, our mentors, our caregivers, our workers, our volunteers, our grandparents, and they are leaders whose experience and wisdom help shape the heart of Sacramento County. Today is not about honoring contribution, but it's about resilience and possibilities. The story of aging in our county is not a side story. It is part of Sacramento County's future, and it's a hopeful one. People over 50 are caring for loved ones, mentoring the younger generations, supporting local nonprofits, and they're strengthening our civic life every single day, as we've just heard. We're also living through a profound demographic shift. U.S. Census Bureau projections show that by 2029, our nation is expected to have more people over the age of 65 than children under 18. Here in Sacramento County, planning recognized that by 2030, 1 in 4 residents will be 60 or older. That's not just a statistic, it's a call to lead with vision. So the question before us is not whether this future is coming, it is. The question is whether we will prepare for it in a way that is bold, inclusive, and inspiring. Will we see older adults only through the lens of need? Or will we recognize them as a source of strength, talent, and community connection? I believe Sacramento can choose that visionary plan because you already are. And you've done it by joining the AARP network of age-friendly communities. You've done it by providing services and supports for programs like the Don Natoli Grant, the Senior Connections Program, the Pearls Program, and many, many more. The visionary approach starts with how we build community, and the board can champion housing that is affordable, accessible, close to transportation, and connected to services so people can age in place with dignity and remain part of their neighborhoods. It also means reimagining transportation. Sacramento County can invest in safer sidewalks, better lighting, accessible transit, and practical options that help older adults not only get to medical appointments, but to grocery stores and restaurants and community events, community centers, and family events. A visionary council like yourself also supports Health Before Crisis. The board can strengthen the partnerships that expand wellness programs, fall prevention, mental health support, dementia-friendly services, and help for family caregivers through respite, information, and navigation. And finally, a visionary approach must reject the ideas that aging means stepping aside. Older adults should be visible in leadership, volunteerism, arts, civic life, and in intergenerational programs that keep people connected, valued, and heard. The good news is Sacramento County has already begun moving in this direction through their local Aging and Disability Action Plan. That gives this community a strong foundation. But plans matter most when they become real, belonging to the people who live here. So today, as we celebrate the 50-plus community, let us do more than just applaud the past. Let us commit to the future. Let us build a Sacramento County where every person can age with dignity, purpose, connection, and joy. Because when we honor older adults, we honor the people who raised us, who guided us, who served our communities, and helped build the lives we enjoy today. And when we invest in this future, we are also investing in the kind of community we want for ourselves, for our children, and for the generations still to come. Thank you all so much for your leadership, for taking time to recognize those 5 over 50, and to embrace growing older with dignity and grace. Thank you so much.
Good morning again, board and members of the board. On behalf of the Sacramento County Adult and Aging Commission, and I stand here representing 14 of them that aren't all here right now, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to stand with you in recognition of Older Americans Month and to commend the remarks that you've just heard. They reflect not only the spirit of the celebration, but the real and growing responsibility we share as a county. Sacramento County is home to a rapidly expanding population of older adults. Today, adults age 60 and over represent one of the fastest growing segments of our community, numbering in the hundreds of thousands and continuing to rise each year. The demographic shift is not a distant projection, it's our present reality. It shapes the demand we see across transportation, housing, health services, caregiver support, and community-based programming. Older adults, though, are not only recipients of services. They are the foundation of our communities. They are the caregivers raising grandchildren, volunteers sustaining nonprofits, veterans who served our country, and longtime residents who have built the neighborhoods where we all live. Their contributions are economic, civic, and cultural, and they continue into later life. The message shared today about connection, independence, and dignity is exactly right. We know that when older adults have access to transportation, safe housing, and social supports, they remain healthier, more engaged, and less reliant on costly systems of care. Investments in aging services are not only compassionate, they are fiscally responsible. We recognize that these conversations are taking place during challenging budget times. Difficult choices must be made. However, it is precisely in these moments that our values are most closely or more clearly demonstrated. Protecting and sustaining services that support older adults, particularly those that prevent isolation, support caregivers, and maintain independence, must remain a priority. The local Aging and Disability Action Plan and the work of Senior and Adult Services gives us a strong foundation. The Commission on Aging fully supports continued investment in these efforts and encourages the board to maintain momentum towards an age-friendly Sacramento County where all residents can thrive across the entire lifespan. As we honor Older Americans Month, we respectfully urge you to continue recognizing our older adults not only as the population in need of support, but as essential contributors to the strength and resilience of our county. Thank you for your leadership and your commitment to ensuring that Sacramento County remains a place where people can age with dignity, purpose, and connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. While you guys are coming down, thank you, Dawn and Contessa and Dr. Bates for the presentation. Next item, please.
Item 6 on the agenda, public comments relating to matters not on the posted agenda. And we do have speakers signed up. First, we have Tim Riley. Tim, if you would approach the lectern, you have 2 minutes to address the supervisors.
Good morning, Tim.
Members of the Board of Supervisors, I'm Tim Riley, a resident of South Natomas. I urge you to postpone the Upper West Side decision until January. The Upper West Side development will be located at what is supposed to become a wildlife corridor. The 2003 Natomas plan needed to pass the Endangered Species Act because the Natomas Basin is home to 22 threatened species. To pass the act, a mile-wide wildlife corridor was established along the east bank of the Sacramento River. The corridor is called the Swainson's Hawk Zone. The Hawk Zone begins at the American River and extends north into Sutter County. To pay for the Hawk Zone's reclamation, Natomas farms sold to developers incur a 50% mitigation tax. Both the U.S. Department of the Interior and the California Department of Fish and Game signed the plan's implementation agreement. The agreement contains a poison pill on page 30. and development in the hawk zone will trigger it. Environmental groups will likely sue, and a court's ruling could weaken the Endangered Species Act for the entire country. Moreover, the city of Sacramento rejects Upper West Side. Therefore, the next District 1 supervisor will be burdened with the responsibility to provide quality urban services. All 4 District 1 candidates oppose the development. So you don't want to welcome your new colleague with a cleanup of this mess. Again, I urge you to postpone the Upper West Side decision until January.
Thank you, Tim.
Our next speaker for matters not on the agenda, Barb Ram.
Hello. So I wanted to make a correction to last week. Supervisor Cerna said that he didn't vote for item number 37, but when you voted yes on the consent calendar, you actually did vote for number 37.
I did not.
I think you did.
I know I did not.
So I got this handout at the Community Corrections Board meeting, and it talks about Sacramento County Sheriff's Office Q3 claim for inmate housing and a daily jail rate of $226.67. So when I asked the board, what does that include, because it's way too low, they had no idea. There are no salaries listed here. There's nothing. It's just this $226. But on the other page, there's a total of $6,523.34 and for AB 109 Q3 claims, but that doesn't show any salaries at all. There's no salaries included, but if you take the total of days, 13,379, and divide that by 6,523 and 343, you get a total of $487.58 per day rather than $226. But that doesn't include any salaries. So how can you have salaried people working in the jail and not include their salaries in the cost of a day in the jail? So this $226 or $209 in the RCC, CCC, doesn't make any sense. It's just some random number. And again, when we can't work with, when we're not working with actual numbers, you can't really determine if things are being managed well. We need to be able to measure what we're managing.
Thank you, Barb.
And we have no other speakers.
I do have one Supervisor Cerna, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Since Ms. Ram decided to challenge me on what actually took place at last week's meeting, I'm going to ask the clerk to respond on the record yet again when we direct you right before we take action on a collective such as the consent calendar, and we point out for the record an objection, or I suppose it could be the other way around, that you're affirming on a particular item or items, does it not, that is, does the record not then in perpetuity show what action was taken on that specific item by a specific supervisor?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right. Well, are there...
We have no other speakers for off agenda.
Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion.
Oh, yeah. Well, now we are going to move to the consent calendar. Those are items 7 through 50. And I do have notes before we take some public comments on consent.
Oh, sorry.
First, you're right. Item 16 is the adoption of an ordinance for Sacramento County on behalf of local fire districts, repeal and adopt the 2025 California Fire Code Title 24, California Code of Regulations Part 9 with amendments. We waived the full reading and continued from May 12th, 2026, where it was item number 18. And of course, we already continued item 17 to June 9th, 2026. And those are all the notes I have.
Okay. Are there any requests to speak?
We do have some requests to speak. First off, we have Joshua Macias, who would like to speak on item 40 and 45. Oh, that was not Joshua Macias. Is Joshua with us? No. Then our next speaker is A.J. Albano, speaking on item 41.
Good morning, Josh. AJ.
Name's AJ Albano, resident of District 1. The Sacramento Sheriff's Office will continue to say that it does not collaborate or share information with the Department of Homeland Security or ICE. Yet in the past 2 weeks, we have seen the Sacramento Sheriff's Office seek your approval to secure and foster the infrastructure and relationship that allows that very collaboration, information sharing, and data sharing to occur, both intentionally and unintentionally. SB 54 is often referenced in these conversations, and it's taken for granted that because it is the law, the sheriff will abide by it. But the reality is that there is no active effort with this board or the county agencies independent of the sheriff's office itself to monitor compliance with SB 54, and no mechanism within this board power to correct noncompliance after it happens. The real power this board has is to allow what it allows the allocation of funds either to build or limit capacity for improper collaboration. 6 USC 124H, which establishes the Department of Homeland Security state, local, and regional fusion centers initiative, allows for the assignment of United States Customs and Border Patrol and the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Fusion centers also routinely investigate constitutionally protected activity, including strikes, labor management incidents, and union controversies. In early 2026, the California's Joint Committee on Legislative Audit voted to investigate state fusion centers following reports that regional centers were actively providing data, such as social media details, driver's locations, and license plate logs to ICE agents. It would be prudent for this board to wait until the results of that audit before securing further relationship and partnership with these fusion centers. I have 20 seconds. Going back to last week, Trump's executive order that created and defines the Homeland Security Task Force on the consent calendar last week defines its creation and role to include ensuring all available law enforcement tools to faithfully execute the immigration laws of the United States. I know that you did not receive nearly the same amount of direct emails about this item, but the community is aware of this. We are watching how you express your values, and we are noting how you process information, who you defer to, and who you ignore.
Thank you, AJ.
And we have no other speakers signed up for consent.
All right. I have no supervisors in the queue, so I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
All right, consent calendar passes 5-0.
All right, next item, please.
All right, next item on our agenda is item 51. Approval of insurance of Series 2026 Airport System Revenue Refunding Bonds in one or more series in aggregate principal amount not to exceed $115 million.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors and Chair Rodriguez. I'm Colin Bettis, the County Debt Officer. The item before you now is the recommendation to approve the issuance of the Series 2026 Airport System Revenue Refunding Bonds. To briefly describe the history, the 2016 bonds were issued to refund portions of Series 2008A, 2009A, and 2000C bonds. The 2016 bonds were issued with a 10-year par call, which will allow a current tax-exempt refunding with a call date of July 1, 2026. This refunding is estimated to save approximately $800,000 on an annual basis, or net present value savings of approximately 7.8%. The bonds will be issued as fixed-rate bonds with final maturity of July 1, 2041, the same maturity date of the current outstanding bonds. The bonds are rated A2 for the senior lien and A3 on a subordinate lien by Moody's, which was affirmed on Friday. And as of the date of the report was written, A+ on the senior lien and A for the subordinate lien by S&P. We anticipate the rating will remain relatively the same and will be posted within a couple of days. The bonds will not be an obligation of the county's general fund. The bonds will be a pledge of the net revenues of the airport system. The Debt Utilization Committee met on April 24th and recommended bringing the refunding bonds to the board for approval. At this time, I request that you approve staff's recommendation authorizing the issuance of the Series 2026 Airport System Revenue Bonds and direct the Chief Fiscal Officer to finalize documentation and do what is necessary related to the issuance of the bonds. Should you have any questions, Doug McDonald, Deputy Director of Finance and Admin of the airport, is also available should you have any questions, as is Brandon Diaz from ORIC.
Thank you, Colin. All right, there are no supervisors in the queue. Are there any requests to speak?
We have no speakers on this item.
All right, I will entertain a motion. Oh, we have Supervisor Cerna.
No, I'll move the item, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
This item passes 5-0.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item, 52, Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Hearing, request for approval of a tax-exempt bonds by California Municipal Finance Authority for the benefit of step-up housing in an amount not to exceed $82 million.
Good morning. Colin Bettis again. CMFA is seeking approval to issue bonds for Step Up Housing, a 501c3 organization that is purchasing a current market rate housing apartment complex and converting it to an affordable housing. Step Up Housing provides wraparound services, housing coordination, and retention services to individuals experiencing chronic homelessness and mental health conditions. They currently provide housing to more than 7,500 individuals and families in supportive housing developments scattered apartments throughout California, Georgia, and Tennessee. The project will be funded through the issuance of bonds, is the purchase and renovation and equipping of an apartment complex currently known as Copper Creek Apartments, located at 6430 Verner Avenue, Sacramento, in District 3. For all or a portion of the bonds to qualify for tax-exempt status, the county must conduct a public hearing as required by the TEFRA Act. The bonds will not be issued by the county, nor will any funds of the county be pledged or obligated to pay any costs associated with the issuance of debt, nor any debt service after the issuance. CMFA will be the issuer, and the bonds will be a limited obligations of CMFA payable solely by Step Up Housing. At this time, I request that the board open the public hearing. Upon receiving any comments, close the public hearing, and adopt the resolution approving the issuance of the bonds. Today, we have Michael Porter, the board chair of Step Up Housing, and Ben Barker with CMFA to answer any questions you may have.
Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. Colin, I just have one question. I just want to put a very fine point on what you just said and make sure that we are simply acting in our authorizing capacity, and we are in no position as far as the repayment of these bonds. That's borne solely by the applicant. Okay,
that is
thank
correct.
you.
All right, there are no other supervisors in the queue. Are there any, I will now open the public hearing. Are there any requests to speak?
No requests to speak.
All right, I will now close the public hearing. And
I'll move the item.
Yeah, I'll second.
yeah. Oh, we have Supervisor Desmond in the queue.
I want to open and close the public hearing first. I just had a couple of questions. And maybe, Michael, if you could answer this for me. I mean, I'm supportive of the matter. We'll be supporting it today. This is going to be a permanent supportive housing project? Is that what I heard from your description? That's the...
So, yes, Colin Bettis. So this is, yes, my understanding is that it will be affordable housing.
Okay. Will it have any wraparound services? Maybe the applicant can kind of talk a little bit about what their vision is. Because I know that's not a specific requirement of this action we're taking today, but I'd just like to know a little more about the project, if you don't mind.
Yes, my name is Michael Potter. I'm the chair of Step Up Housing. Essentially what we're doing is we're buying a market rate apartment building, and we're putting a regulatory agreement on it to convert 75% of the project will then be affordable housing. We provide services not with respect to when the different units we buy. What we do is after we've owned it for maybe 3 to 6 months, we see what the residents need, and then we bring in services on that level. So it's not services as you think with homeless, but is with respect to just affordable housing, things that people need with respect to maybe childcare, helping with after-school tutoring, those types of items.
Okay, thanks, Michael. That's helpful because I think just based on what Colin had said, maybe that's what caused me to ask that question. What I wouldn't, I had not heard from you before you came forward with this. What I would do is encourage you to maybe reach out to my office because I'd love to meet with you and just get to know a little more about the project and how certainly my office can support the work you're doing up in that part of the county.
Perfect, thank you. We'll reach out.
Don't go far.
Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you, Chair. Affordable gets tossed around quite a bit. Can you give us a better idea of what the targeting is?
The target for the property is, again, with respect to 268 units, 75% will be subject to a regulatory agreement. That means both the income of the residents plus the rent will have to be set for the income requirements. That's 20% of the project at 50% AMI and 55% of the project at 80% AMI. Gotcha. Right now, the rents usually range in that project from $1,600 to $1,800 per unit. Mm-hmm. And as a result of us purchasing the property and putting the regulatory agreement on, we'll immediately be able to reduce the rents for 20% of the project by an average of $226 per unit.
It's very low and low is what you're targeting.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you clarify? He said very low.
Very low and low.
Very low and low. 50% is...
50% AMI is considered very low.
Oh, is it very low?
And,
50%.
And 80% AMI is considered low income housing.
Okay.
And 30 to 50 is extremely low.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Please vote.
This item passes 5-0.
All righty, next item, please.
Item 53, the Mather Airport Strategic Real Estate Development Plan Update.
I'm sorry, Todd. Mm-hmm. Did I ask for public comments on the previous one?
We had no public speakers.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Signed
Just
up.
wanted,
Thank
for
you.
the record, thank you.
Thank you for catching that.
Mm-hmm. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. It's a pleasure to be in front of you. Stephen Clark, Deputy Director of Airport Commercial Development for the Sacramento County Department of Airports. We have a really unique item in front of you here today as an update to a project of one of the greatest assets that we have in our community, which is Mather Airport. As the board will know, as well as our community, Mather has served as a place of distinction since World War I. And has been an asset of the county since the mid-1990s. The commercial development team over the last year has been busy trying to ensure that that asset has a future that is not only supporting our region's economic development and its growth, but also inspiring the future of all, not just aviation, but beyond that. In order to get that done, we undertook a comprehensive strategic real estate plan, which is the item that we are bringing to you today. That plan is a little bit different than a traditional airport master plan that the board has seen in the past from us. In fact, the strategic real estate plan really takes all of the items that we already have in the master plan, but adds in stakeholder feedback as well as multiple other items, including all of the drawings that we have on site. And so the item that myself and my colleague, Mr. Michael Winans, is going to be presenting on here is the culmination of that effort. And in order to help us get that done, we actually brought in consulting partners, Mead & Hunt, who are already our on-call consultants, but as well as a national perspective from McFarland Johnson. McFarland Johnson specializes in land use planning specifically for major infrastructure, but airports is one of their specialties. So the items today we're going to be running through for you will specifically not only give you some context about where the airport's at today, but also where this strategic real estate plan will be taking us in the future, because ultimately Mather is a very special asset to our community, and with an 11,300-foot-long runway, one of the largest runways in all of California, it's a massive opportunity for us. So with that said, I'm going to pass over the microphone to Mr. Michael Winans, who will take you through the presentation today. Thank you.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Michael Winans, Senior Airport Economic Development Specialist with the Department of Airports.
So just to start out, these are some top-level business statistics for Mather Airport. We have a different number of commercial tenants and buildings because we have some buildings with multiple tenants. We have some tenants in multiple buildings, as well as some tenants who are on long-term ground leases for development. So they either have developed assets or are developing assets that will eventually become property of the county. And then currently we're doing a little over $6 million a year in annual revenue. And the real goal of this is to, of course, increase that number to bring more money into the airport. Ground developments, leases, and airplanes also bring additional property tax revenue into the county. So we started this project around June of last year. As you can see, we've had a pretty major milestone every month since. We've been really busy having our biweekly meetings, getting into a lot of data, also learning a lot of things about the airport that we maybe didn't know beforehand. And what I really want to highlight is the stakeholder engagement meetings we held throughout. And the idea is we were engaging with economic development leaders in the area, real estate brokers and agents, particularly those that operate in the Sacramento area. So, McEwen Properties, Wood Rogers were some of our attendees at the meetings. Supervisor Hume's office was also there in support, which we really appreciate. We currently have the final draft report in hand. I actually have a meeting tomorrow with our internal technical committee to really go over any details that might need to be adjusted for the final report. And we expect to have that fully complete and available for review within the next couple of weeks. So we looked at two focus areas in the development of this plan. The first focus area is what we're calling the north side. So to help orient you a bit, this is, literally the north side of the airport, but if you've been there, it's where all the buildings currently are. So that road towards the top left would be Old Placerville Road, and then towards the bottom right is the actual taxiway and runway infrastructure. The light blue buildings are what we call our site concepts. So working with our consultants, these are recommended concepts that we can have ready to go to advertise to the developing community, whereas the darker gray are the existing facilities. So the real highlights for the north side are, of course, aviation facilities, as we are an airport. This board already approved us to enter into agreements with two of these developments back in March. So that would be the FBO as well as the maintenance facility. And we also have about a dozen other hangar facilities that will be available for us to market out for development. And as you sort of bloom away from the airfield, we have some opportunities for light industrial manufacturing facilities, general cargo and warehousing facilities, and just a tiny bit of office and retail use. There are a lot of county lands around the airport already focused on office development, so we're going to leave that up to them and focus more on the commercial and manufacturing development. This is focus area 2, which is the southeast part of the airport. So this is what we currently call the alert area. It's a largely undeveloped piece of land, and we kind of have I guess you'd call a grander vision for this in the future to basically act as an air trade port or a trade port for the Sacramento area, where we would have significantly new infrastructure for air cargo development and also general cargo development, which we'll talk about more in just a moment. These are a few renderings that our consultants came up with for this trade port area. So this is sort of the overview of the business park. These are the additional aviation facilities and aviation aprons that we would hope to be able to construct. This is another view from the other side of it. So we have the plan in hand, but we also need to implement the plan. So the first thing we're looking at is site readiness. So the figures in here as well were prepared back towards the end of last year. We had to submit these slides back in April, so we've since gotten updates to these numbers that our consultant has helped us with. So that way when we publish the plan, we have the most current information available. So for the north side, that's what I would call the easy side. There are 3 phases of site readiness for the north side, and those mostly have to do with utility extensions, getting utilities to the leasehold essentially to help promote development and make it a little bit easier to manage. And our goal is to make the sites shovel ready. And by shovel ready, we mean there's utilities at the site, maybe some basic grading if it's needed, and access to the site as well. So if there are any additional roadways needed, that's something we would look at as well. It has a 3-area phasing. They don't necessarily need to be done separately, but we're focusing on the north ramp area first and foremost because we already have agreements ready to be entered into for those areas, but also just to fill out the rest of that north side. We've got a lot of empty land and building pads where buildings used to be, so we'd like to get those ready to go as soon as possible. And the approximate total cost for that entire area combined, all 3 phases, is currently about $2 million. The trade port is a lot more complex. That is also a 3-phase sort of system, but that will actually have to be rolled out in phases because each phase enables the development of the next one. Some of it has to do with adding new airfield infrastructure or realigning some airfield infrastructure, moving some assets around, a lot of site grading, a lot of concrete and asphalt, and of course the utilities as well. So the total top-level figure for the trade port right now is about $209 million. This shows you what the phasing plan for the trade port would be. So you have that pink cross-hatched area, which adds 2 new taxiway connectors to our main runway and also eliminates the existing one, which has not been used in a very long time and is also not compliant with current airfield design standards. It would also add an initial cargo apron, a couple of cargo buildings, as well as a connector to the roadway. Phase 2 is the yellow hatched portion, which helps fill out what we currently call the alert area. It's a big piece of pavement out there, but gets it ready for aviation use, along with the construction of multiple hangars. And then finally, the green hatched portion would be phase 3, which again adds additional airfield connectors, cargo aprons, and cargo processing facilities.
One moment, Michael.
Yeah.
Supervisor Serna?
Thank you. Hopefully I'm not going to interrupt you too long here, but the thing that strikes me with this slide is you're beginning to get in the weeds in terms of especially the southeast part of the area, and it looks to me like rightfully so there would be a great deal more aircraft ground movements involved with the addition of the taxiway connectors that you just mentioned and other aspects of the plan. My question is does this all assume that we would have more tower presence or tower presence at all, assuming that the activity level continues to build at Mather?
Absolutely. It's always our goal to have that staffed. I'm sure you're somewhat alluding to some of the struggles we have at the airport right now with the federal contractor, as well as happening nationwide. So this is also a much longer horizon plan. This is maybe 10 to 20 years. So, as we continue to work to resolve those issues with air traffic control staffing, I would like to think by then we've got it hammered out. We are still working with the FAA to help improve our air traffic control staffing. So yes, we would ideally have that resolved by the time we actually saw earth being moved and pavement being poured.
So thank you. Let me put a finer point on it. Is any of this contingent on ATC presence and activity? In other words, you don't go past a certain phase unless that tower is staffed at least part of the time.
Not necessarily. Tower staffing isn't strictly necessary for aviation operations. In fact, our flagship cargo operator that's currently there, UPS, sometimes does operate without anybody in the tower. There's just a different set of rules for how you operate.
And there's no contingency relative to the amount of aircraft movements or hangared aircraft or anything like that?
A lot of this development is going to be contingent on private investment, government grants, or a P3 type of approach.
Maybe I confused the question. Sorry. So there's nothing in FAA law that says after a certain amount of aircraft that are native to that airport that are housed at their airport, you move from, I don't know if this is the right terminology, like visual flight rules or whatever, aircraft speaking to other aircraft to make sure that you don't have any conflicts, that once you get past a certain threshold of activity at an airport, then you have to have a managed tower certain number of hours during the day or all hours during the day? Is that a thing?
I don't believe there's a threshold based on aircraft activity or the number of based aircraft.
Or the type, I assume. You could have some 47s moving around, cargo 747s.
Correct. We could do that theoretically now.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
For the business approach, as I've already discussed, the board has already approved us to enter into agreements for 2 of these developments, which we are still working on. We are negotiating some finer points of the agreement with those 2 parties, and we hope to see some movement on those soon, including signed agreements. We will also leverage relationships that we've built with our regional developers during those stakeholder meetings. So we received a lot of positive feedback from the developer community that came, who asked us a lot of questions that got us thinking, and also have had meetings with us. This afternoon, we will be meeting with a firm that may want to develop at the airport. So we're already seeing some of the fruits of what we've done from those stakeholder engagement meetings. There are some traditional solicitation approaches too, like we do for our property that we lease now, which is to solicit that we have something available for lease, this time more particularly with development. And we expect some of those to be quite popular in the hangar development world, particularly your general use aviation hangars. I attended a conference 2 weeks ago, and there was a very interesting stat that they put out that business jets are currently being manufactured faster than hangars to store them in. So there's a lot of speculative hangar development as well. And then finally, we have some industry participation. So AAAE is the American Association of Airport Executives. Most of the people on the commercial development team are certified members already, and we're very connected to the airport management industry. And we also participate with the Northern California Business Aviation Association, where we could potentially find other clients who may want to develop for their flight departments. For the financing approach, the north side, so that was the $2 million figure. The clearest path there is using existing airport funds and traditional airport financing approaches. So, for example, $2 million is not out of the realm of what we take on as a normal project as part of our department. So that type of thing can be funded by our revenues in the future. The trade port, as I talked about earlier, is going to be probably some mixture of private developer financing, so people who want to develop the facilities for them to use. We are looking into government grants to get, for example, a lot of the asphalt poured or utility extensions, and some possible public-private partnerships where perhaps somebody builds something on behalf of us and collects some revenue share of it. And that's sort of the general presentation. Of course, once the final report is completed, we'd be happy to share it. It'll be a public document anyway, but we can send it directly to you.
Thank you for the presentation. There's no action required. Are there any requests to speak on this item?
We have no request to speak on this item.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
There are a couple supervisors. Oh, no. Okay. Supervisor Serna, 1 moment.
Thank you. This is a question for Stephen. And I admit I should probably know this already, but do we have Cat 3 completely implemented or not at Mather right now?
Not currently, sir. No. So currently we have Category 2 landing system installed with the intention of working with our congressional delegation to get Category 3 installed. So the equipment is already owned by the department. However, the actual installation, maintenance, operation, et cetera, it's our intention to be working with our congressional delegation to get the FAA to take that over for us, because ultimately we do not want to be one of the only airports in the United States maintaining that system.
So, and that's the common approach to how you implement Category 3 is to have, I assume, the federal government pay for the installation operation?
Traditionally, you would want the federal government to come in and do that analysis. The department, however, a decade or so plus ago, made the decision to purchase that system itself. And so the fact that we own that asset is very helpful. However, it is a bit of a different approach compared to what maybe our partners at the FAA have done in the past. And so it's kind of working with them to bridge that gap and essentially pass that equipment over to them.
Have we owned that equipment, or have we had it in our possession now for about a decade or over a decade?
Yes, sir. Yes, it has been stored securely at Mather.
I assume that technology has a shelf life. Or in other words, I assume that it ages even if it's not being deployed, it's not been installed or operated, and let's say 5 years from now, we have the federal wherewithal and cooperation to finally install it and operate it. Do we eventually run the risk of owning, possessing outdated technology by the time we find the outside resources to actually implement it and operate it?
There's always a risk, right, of technology advancing faster than what we have. I guess to answer your question directly, yeah, there is a risk. To mitigate that risk, it's actually working closely with FAA to make sure that if that's the system that is going to be installed still, that it doesn't run out of shelf life, if you will, or having parts available. Ultimately, one of the biggest concerns that you have with the Category 3 landing system is operational reliability, right? So if it goes down and they can't get parts to repair it, that is ultimately an issue for the entire aerospace system, not just for Mather too. So I think the intention is to manage through that risk. But the fact that we own that system, it's worth saying that systems like instrument landing systems have a longer shelf life because that technology is very mature as well. And so part of that validation work with FAA would be to ensure that that system is operating properly, certified, and installed correctly.
Now, I know this presentation is about the plan, the real estate plan for Mather, but obviously that includes and entails a great deal of operational change, right? A more intense use of the airport property for aircraft movements and standard operations that most of us would think would happen at an airport of this size. So where I was going with the questioning about Cat 3 is, will any of this expected heightened level of activity make it even make for a greater need or interest in us having that Cat 3 in place? And do we get up to a point of activity where it becomes extremely difficult to maintain a certain level of activity, especially during the winter months?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes. So the idea of us having that Category 3 landing system is appealing to a broader set of global operators versus maybe your more traditional local general aviation traffic. And so it is something that we absolutely want to deliver on and get done. Because again, if you just think about, a heavy long-haul aircraft coming from overseas with cargo, from our region or going out from our region, they're going to want to be able to operate 365 days a year, not just when it's not foggy yet.
And not be diverted.
Yes, that's correct. And so that's one of the efforts that we have to succeed on.
Okay. And is there a separate plan somewhere, hopefully it's not gathering too much dust, that kind of maximizes our chances of, regardless of the administration, of trying to get that Cat 3 finally paid for and implemented sooner rather than later?
I think it's what we're really working on, and Supervisor Hume and I actually attended a briefing with one of our members of the congressional delegation in Washington, D.C. a little less than a month ago to really lay that foundation. And so I think kind of the next step for us is really getting that member of Congress as well as staff up to speed on that plan, and then getting in front of the correct folks at FAA to actually get that implemented, regardless of what administration is in office.
All right, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, you had me at hello. I think I've been a long champion for the upside at Mather and the real economic opportunity that lies there, and the potential of morphing into a real airport asset for the Sacramento region at large. One of the things, and I look forward to our deeper dive, we have a briefing coming up that we can really kind of roll our sleeves up on this, but one of the things that, just as I look at the initial schematic drawings, is that southeast area with those logistical service centers. Obviously, that's a fantastic use for such a large runway, but I see a lot of long-haul trucks backed up in bays and wonder how are we going to get them to the nearest major freeway or roadway.
Yeah, so that actually came up during our very first kickoff meeting with the developers. That was I guess the biggest feedback we got was to take a look at the roads. So we did exactly that. We worked with County DOT to look at the county's general plan for the roads surrounding Mather, particularly for access from Highway 50. We also looked at access from the south via Jackson Highway. And currently, at least in what we have planned through the county, a lot of the areas around the airport are planned for a 6-lane ultimate design, so 3 lanes each way, almost going all the way up to Highway 50. And in some cases, if you go through Old Placerville and Bradshaw, you're able to have that ultimate design all the way up to Highway 50. So some of the actual work behind that will probably be triggered by development, but we reasonably believe that at least in the county's current plan for the roadways, that it would be able to support the airport.
Okay. As long as we're thinking about it, we're planning for it, we're kind of holding that out there, that's a critical piece in order to realize those visions. And then one of you mentioned the sort of business of private aircraft, and I think that is a huge upside for Mather, given that a lot of the folks who rely on those aircrafts don't have to have the plane hangared where they are. They summon the plane to get them to go wherever they need to go, where they can service the plane, where they can fuel the plane, where the plane can be stored securely. Those are all important considerations, not necessarily the geographic proximity at a moment's notice. And then the last thing that I would say is, we ran into the hurdle of the dormitory for the flight academy, having to create an easement in order to abandon an easement just because of the sort of things that weren't contemplated when we received this asset as one lump sum from the federal government. And so I think the more we can get out in front of this and really position ourselves to be, quote unquote, as you said, shovel ready, that to me is a huge upside as people are looking, because when you're talking about an airport of this capacity, it's really, I don't know, Western United States, Western Hemisphere. I don't know how big of an impact this really could be, but it's definitely something we want to get out in front of. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing.
And I want to say we also looked at the road abandonment issue, because we were all caught by surprise with that. So we have taken a comprehensive look throughout the airport to see what are roads in the system, but not roads in reality. And I'm happy to say we've only identified one segment of road, so we will be working on taking care of that one ahead of time.
I appreciate that. And then the last thing, I appreciate the comments from my colleague, Supervisor Cerna, about the Cat 3 system. I've been harping on that, I think, since the first day I came into office. And it's a very complex situation of dealing with the FAA for the operational side, but also on which comes first, the chicken or the egg, relative to pavement rehabilitation and what part of the runway rehabilitation, and what part of the runway we can rehabilitate, and how that interfaces with the installation of the system. So we are waiting on pins and needles and hope that we don't have very heavy paperweights by the time we're allowed to implement it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. I'm very supportive of the effort. Just want to add my voice to Supervisor Cerna's with respect to the concern of the impact from both the tower staffing and the equipment on our cargo carriers, especially our flagship carrier, and I appreciate your continued engagement with them. I know we want to work towards, ideally, eliminating those diversions so they have that level of reliability and cost savings. So thank you for that.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is 54. That's the Vineyard South Mine Expansion, a community plan amendment to allow interim surface mining on 2 parcels.
Good morning.
Good morning.
PowerPoint will be up in just 1 second there.
All right, thank you. All right, good morning. I'm Mark McLeany with Planning and Environmental Review. I'm going to present the Vineyard South Mine Expansion Project. The site is located at 9332 Elder Creek Road, west of Bradshaw, east of Hedge Road, north of Florin, and south of Elder Creek Road in the Vineyard community. On the map there, the properties on the south, east, and west with the hash marks are the 4 new parcels, or project parcels. Community context. So the 4 parcel sites are zoned interim agricultural reserve, which is IR zone, and the surrounding land uses are to the north, it's IR with the surface mining overlay, and that is the Vineyard South Mine. To the south is RD10 and IR, and east and west it is zoned IR. Site history. So on January 15, 2019, the Vineyard South use permit was approved by the Board of Supervisors to allow surface mining on approximately 146 acres of 170-acre site. The site is currently part of the Vineyard South Mine, and the use permit expires January 15, 2029. The applicant is requesting an amendment to a use permit to allow surface mining on 4 additional parcels totaling 86 acres and 3 additional years of mining. A rezone to add the surface mining combining zone to 86 acres of the IR zone. A community plan amendment to add language to the vineyard or the Florin Vineyard community plan that would allow mining activity on 2 parcels for the duration of the related use permit. A reclamation plan amendment to include the new mining area into the reclamation plan and include the end use as open space. A development agreement amendment between the applicant and the County of Sacramento. So this slide is the site plan and the phasing plan. On the left side is the site plan, and the 4 new parcels are the parcels on the south. There's 2 on the east and 2 on the west. The ones on the east will be in phase 2B, and the ones on the west will be in phase 3 of the mining plan. Okay, so the original use permit was approved by the Board of Supervisors on January 15, 2019, to allow mining on 46 of the 170-acre site with 13 million tons of sand and gravel to be mined. The applicant is proposing 3 additional years of mining with an expiration date of January 15, 2032, and 3 additional years to reclaim the site with an end date of January 15, 2035. The 4 additional parcels total 86 acres, and of that 86 acres, 60 acres is proposed to be mined. The amendment will increase the amount of sand and gravel from 3.1 million, will increase it by 3.1 million tons with a total of 16.1 million tons for the mine. The end use will continue to be open space. There's a development agreement amendment included in the expansion area, and the project will have the continued in the participation of the cents per ton program. And just real quick, the background on the cents per ton. So all mines with development agreements have a cents per ton component. As part of the cents per ton, the operator sends the funds to a nonprofit. Each miner operator chooses their own nonprofit. In this case, Granite has chosen Sacramento Splash, which provides education opportunities for kids. Okay, environmental review. The board certifies the original Vineyard South EIR in January 2019. The addendum for this project was done pursuant to CEQA guidelines, and there's no substantial changes or circumstances requiring EIR revisions. The addendum concluded that no substantial changes are proposed, which would require major revisions to the EIR. No substantial changes have occurred with respect to circumstances under which the project was undertaken. There is no new information of substantial importance which was not known and could not have been known with the exercise of due diligence at the time of the EIR certification, and only minor technical changes or additions are necessary in order to deem the adopted environmental document as adequate. Advisory recommendations. So the Vineyard CPAC met on February 13, 2025 and recommended approval with 3 yeses, no zeros, and 1 absent. 1 member of the CPAC did ask if there were any public benefits, and the cents per ton, which I stated earlier, does provide educational opportunities. And the Planning Commission met on May 11, 2026, and voted for approval 3 yes, 0 no, with 2 absent. Staff is recommending that the Board of Supervisors take the following action. Determine that the environmental analysis prepared in pursuant to CEQA is adequate and complete. Adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. Approve the community plan amendment to add language to the Florin Vineyard community plan. Approve the rezone to add the surface mining combining zone subject to findings and conditions.
Approve the amended use permit subject to finding and conditions. Approve the reclamation plan amendment to include the new mining area into the reclamation plan subject to finding and conditions. And approve the development agreement amendment between the applicant and the county and Sacramento to authorize the planning director to execute the final development agreement. And approve an easement reservation agreement for Waterman Road to allow the director of DOP to amend the agreement. So this last one is for is an easement reservation agreement for Waterman Road, which is needed to fulfill one of the DOT conditions, specifically number 53. And this just gives the director of DOT the ability to modify it for the Waterman Road alignment. That concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant is also here.
Thank you for the presentation, Mark. Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. I know there had been ongoing discussions with Southgate Park and Rec.
Yes.
Do we know the status of those discussions?
Yes, they were wrapped up a couple weeks ago and was able to incorporate them in the conditions for the planning commission. So what you have in front of you are the conditions that were agreed upon. There was actually number 49 was modified, and then number 50 was a new one. So there's two Southgate conditions that the applicant and Southgate were both comfortable with.
Okay, so it says, as of the writing of this board letter, the applicant and Southgate were in discussions, but those discussions have concluded and resulted in those two conditions. Okay, very good. I didn't quite understand that. Thank you.
Sorry, yes.
Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. Just a real minor question. You flew through that quickly, which I appreciate, but I missed. I was trying to find what exactly is the impact on Splash again?
Pardon me?
On Splash.
Oh, Sacramento Splash. It's by Mather. They provide.
No, I know what they are, but what's the impact on them?
It's part of those. So the cents per tons. Let me get the little chart here. So it's based upon the amount of aggregate they sell per year and how long the mine is open. For example, if you have a mine operator that sold 1.5 million tons and they're in the 7th year of the mine, that is 4 cents per ton would be the cents per ton fees.
Okay.
Which is somewhere around 40,000 or so.
There we go. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mark. All right, are there any requests to speak on this item?
We have no request to speak.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Do we need to move the recommended actions sequentially, or can they be lumped together?
You can lump them together.
Okay, then I would move the recommended actions 1 through 8.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Adopted 5-0.
All right, next item, please.
55 on our agenda is the update on homeless partnership model and direction on participation of board representatives.
Good afternoon, Emily.
Good afternoon, Chair Rodriguez, members of the board. I'm Emily Halkin, the Director of the Department of Homeless Services and Housing, here with you once again. So just a quick timeline to bring you back up to speed, although we've been talking about this for quite a while. And there is a more detailed timeline in your board letter if you wanted to look at that. As you all know, the discussions around how we as a community address homelessness collaboratively has been happening really since in perpetuity, but since the responsibilities for administration of the continuum of care left the county in about 2011. It is important to remind ourselves that while lots of time has passed since then, it always was the intention that the COC would be better connected to local government actions, but also that significant changes have happened since that time. At the time when the COC left the county, there wasn't really a lot of activity from the state or local governments, and today we have a lot of increased investments. You have entire departments stood up in many of the jurisdictions, and a lot of administrative capacity that exists within each of the communities. Locally, in addition to the creation of what eventually became my position and ultimately our department in 2016, in 2021, many of you were here for the creation of what was called the Sacramento Homeless and Policy Council. And this really did attempt to meet some of the objectives of having a place for local elected officials to gather together to talk about homelessness. It didn't fold in those COC functions or really provide any authority for that body. And so in response to some requests to bolster that level of authority as well as input from the community members over the past few years, and certainly most intensely over the past 9 months, I've been before you multiple times with variations of ways that we as a community might want to partner with all of the cities here in the community, as well as the Continuum of Care Board, on a new structure that aims to do a few things, but most importantly, pull the Continuum of Care closer to the work that's happening here at the county and with our partners in the cities, and creates a space for more meaningful cross-jurisdictional collaboration with yourselves and your colleagues in all the cities. And so while I recognize this has been a dynamic conversation and somewhat longer than many of us would have wanted it to, in that we didn't know what the appetite was from some of our partners, we sort of iterated together on where we would get, but I'm really happy to say that I'm here today with an agreement from all of the partners that pushes us towards a single shared framework. So last week, and Supervisor Kennedy and Desmond were there with me, I presented alongside my colleague from the city of Sacramento a joint proposal for a framework that has also been vetted with the other cities in the county. This framework includes the core characteristics that I believe the Board of Supervisors has been lifting up critically over our conversations in the past few months, but it does still leave some space for our partner entities to come in and formulate some of the details behind how this might be carried out. As a board preferred in our December conversation, and you approved what then we called our recommended option, the framework that has been approved by the Continuum of Care, the City of Sacramento, and we've had conversations with most of the other cities, will create a single body that serves as a community-wide board for collaboration on homelessness, as well as how homelessness and housing intersect. Which will expand to add community seats when that board is taking actions as the Continuum of Care Board. As a reminder, there are federal statutes that do require participation at a COC board that include non-elected members. And there also are some annual funding points that can be given in a Continuum of Care application process based on your board composition, your COC board composition, my apologies. When this board is not sitting as the COC board, when you're taking on actions outside of the COC authorities, this will be a majority membership of elected officials from the 6 cities as well as the County of Sacramento. Those meetings will become Brown Act compliant. The board, when it's sitting as the COC, while it will have community voices, it will maintain the majority of elected officials and will have final authority over COC functions. The framework also importantly includes a robust committee structure so that community voices aren't lost. That was one of the sentiments I think we heard strongly last week, is a very strong interest to have community voices interwoven into this process, and we do believe that there's a very strong way to do that with some strong subcommittees. And so when this board then sits themselves and you're not doing COC actions, this might be things such as shared approaches to encampment response throughout the county. It might consider ways that we operationalize different shelter structures. The board then will be only the elected officials.
So, Emily, can I get clarification on this one? So in December, Kennedy and Desmond were put on the COC board.
Yes.
Okay, and then last month we went down the path of the Sacramento Housing and Homeless Board that Hume and I are, I guess, will no longer be sitting under, correct?
You have been appointed to it, but with the pivot in the City of Sacramento and the Continuum of Care joining in the preferred option, we will not need to seat the Sacramento Homeless and Housing Board.
Okay, so then we're basically now officially combining those two as of now?
No, and so a couple slides from now we talk about the process to get there, because it is an iterative process, and so a couple of steps to get there, which does include a request today for you guys to appoint somebody to help us with that interim step.
And just for clarification, because this is where I had the questions, that interim step is not necessarily what we're going to look like today, but what we're going to look like when the body comes together and says, this is what the ideal body should look like?
Correct. The interim step is a working group to fashion together what the ultimate body would look like. And so it could be different members in the different stages of this process, if that's what the board chose.
And you are looking right now for 2, and it's going to include a representative from all the jurisdictions and the person with lived experience. I'm
going to get to that in a minute, but
go ahead.
is that okay?
All right. Supervisor Kennedy, do you want to wait?
Okay, there's only a couple more slides.
Yeah.
But you are foreshadowing a lot of the conversation, so thank you. So now that this framework that I just described about one single entity where the COC members come and go depending on, or community members come and go depending on the discussion item. We want to work with urgency to seat this board. One thing we have heard from you over the past few months is there's a strong desire to move as quickly as possible. But we also recognize that those who are being impacted and being asked to join this board, including all 6 of the cities as well as the COC, should be engaged in some of the details, the fine details that Supervisor Rodriguez is asking about in this framework. I'm sorry, I talked about that. So here's where you are. So to ensure that all of the voices who eventually will be on that governing body are heard, and so that we can sustain the actual COC functions during that time, we're looking to form what we're calling an ad hoc planning group. That includes representatives from each of the ultimate members of this board. So that would be members from the Board of Supervisors, members from each of the city councils, and members from the COC board itself. This ad hoc committee will not become the COC. It will form a task force to design the bylaws, the selection criteria, et cetera, for the ultimate new board. These bylaws for the COC will have to go back to the current COC for adoption, at which point phase 2 is the operationalization of the new Continuum of Care Board with a majority elected officials and a more limited community participation. We do also envision and hope that all of the staff from each of the cities will participate to support this effort, as well as staff of the Continuum of Care, who in this case is Sacramento Steps Forward. Once that new COC has been operationalized in phase 2, they will take over then the operations of the COC. They will run the COC meetings. They will direct the lead agency, who, as I said, is Sacramento Steps Forward, and they will take on the administrative responsibilities with HUD and with the community. Phase 3 then is the work to establish that broader governing body of elected officials when you're sitting outside of your COC bounds. So when you're taking on community interest projects, when you're talking amongst your electeds about new policy areas, when you're setting strategic goals for the community. We recognize that phase, these do not necessarily have to go in order. They can run in parallel, but the diagram suggests otherwise. It's 2 different sort of work products. The COC has to exist for federal statute, and we can't have an interruption of the COC while we build out this larger governing body.
One moment, Emily. Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. Emily, I just have a quick question on that last piece there.
Yes.
For phase 2 and phase 3, are there 2 separate bodies of the reconstituted new COC board and this new governing body board? Are those 2 different entities?
They are. So here's how I would describe it. Sometimes when you guys sit as the Board of Supervisors, it's just the 5 of you, and sometimes there's some actions you take. I think it's a tobacco litigation body, and that member joins you. So it's sort of envisioned in that same way. When you're taking things and sitting as the COC, those community members would join. So I don't know if that means it's one body, but membership may come and go depending on the agenda item in front of you. Does that help?
So more specifically then, whichever supervisors serve on one body, they serve on the other body.
For the COC and the governing body, yes,
Okay,
you're correct.
thank you.
Now, what isn't the case necessarily is this ad hoc planning
Correct.
task force. That is really a work group. It will exist for a very short period of time, and the purpose of that work group is to define some of the really detailed things we've been asked quite a bit, which is how many seats, how often does this body meet, those types of things. So that work group will dissolve once the phase 2 and phase 3 have been fully operationalized.
Emily, I want to say that when I first saw this item, and I was came on pretty quick considering that the meeting was just last week. So it was very impressive. But all 5 of us up here share truly the heaviness of homelessness and housing and some of the issues that we deal with. And so when it came to establishing what this is going to look like long term, to me, it seemed probably appropriate to have all 5 of us and the impact, 5 from the city of Sacramento and 1 from each jurisdiction, or however it would be laid out, very similar to, I guess, what STA is and regional sanitations and air quality, where we would come together and be able to form that body, because I think all 5 of us are very passionate about how this is going to look and the structure. We do have a new supervisor coming in January who is going to, who has the city of Sacramento incorporated into that job, and so their voice is going to be incredibly critical. Whether he or she gets elected, but it's going to be important to have their voice in it. So in the structure, it just seems like for me, it would have been best to have a larger body on this to be able to dictate what it looks like long term, or create the body and then drive the outcomes of what the structure of that group looks like.
And you're specifically talking about the task force?
The task force, yeah.
So at this point, you are correct. We're recommending 2 members of this board to the task force. I do hear what you're saying about ultimately that the new governing body, you'd like to see a broader representation. First of all, we're hoping the ad hoc is very short-lived, so potentially by the time the new member for District 1 is seated, the ad hoc will have dissolved. But also we're looking for it to be very nimble, and while we're not opposed to it, having all 5 of you would introduce a whole new, it would become a Brown Act body, the task force versus what we were sort of envisioning, sort of something that could quickly meet and coalesce. But if that's the will of the board, we haven't, at this point, none of the other cities have officially appointed their members, but I do understand, and David might know something different, they expect to appoint 1 or 2, depending on which jurisdiction for the task force.
Yeah, I would imagine it's the mayor. I just think that adding 2 right now to create a structure really leaves out the voice of the majority on this board. And when we're dealing with homeless and housing, it's our voices, I think, are really important on how that body looks going forward. Supervisor Cerna?
Thank you.
Oops, I'll put you on, Kennedy.
So first of all, I completely agree with the chair's opening remarks about heaviness and the fact that we're all very engaged. All 5 of us are very engaged on the subject of homelessness and have been for years, decades. However, I guess where I maybe have a slightly different take on things is that when we appointed supervisors Kennedy and Desmond to serve at the COC, and they've been doing a terrific job, as well as with the partnership agreement with the city of Sacramento. There was a very deliberative, I think at the time, if my memory serves me, very deliberative conversation about geography and kind of the nature of the intensity of homelessness in the county and where that lies, and not to minimize or diminish the fact that it's kind of a ubiquitous challenge that we have. But I think having the 2 existing supervisors from the broader group of 5 who have now the experience working with the COC and certainly this latest effort and challenge that we've had. As the chair mentioned, there was a meeting just last week to kind of figure out that fork in the road, and I'm pleased that the fork that we're going with has been determined. But I do agree with Emily. I think nimbleness is going to be one of the critical parts to the ad hoc planning task force, because that is expected. That's a structure that's expected to work fairly swiftly. to come up with some of these details about composition, and I would even throw in probably where you're going to meet now. So there's all kinds of, I think, critical decision-making, no doubt, that will have to take place, but it's going to have to take place fairly quick. And so to me, I feel very comfortable having our two existing reps for both the engagement in the COC and the partnership agreement continue to serve, if they're willing, in this this ad hoc planning task force moving forward. So that just gives you kind of a preview of coming attractions in terms of my comments. Thanks.
Supervisor Kennedy. Oh, you were on it. I took you off by accident. Oh, okay. Well, you're good. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so today's request is that you provide direction on participation the board would like to see. As we have talked about, we are recommending 2 members of this board serve on this ad hoc planning task force. As I think Supervisor Rodriguez said earlier, we will be returning to the board once we have the ultimate bylaws and composition recommendations for the governing body that will have to be approved by this board, as it will have to be approved by all the cities. And at that point, we'll be asking for appointments to the new governing body. And certainly the board can make different choices if they'd like to.
Supervisor Serna.
Thank you, Chair. So to that point, as of today, what you're asking us to consider, Emily, there's nothing that would preclude at a later date of deliberation by this board to possibly go with the entirety of the board that could or could not serve.
No, it definitely wouldn't. So that ad hoc planning task force will be tasked with recommending the size of this governing body. It could be as big as we want, as small as we want, membership, et cetera. Okay,
that's important to know, because I wouldn't want any of us or the public, more importantly, to think that either we're shirking our interest or responsibilities as all 5 of us, as the entirety of the board, that may at some point want to add to our plate and be that county representative collective at the COC. So today is really what you're really asking us to consider is composition of the ad hoc task force?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the discussion. Thanks for the presentation, Emily. I just want to make a few comments about the meeting yesterday or last week. That was a watershed, I think, a moment in our response to homelessness in the county. I mean, I think if you go back in the chronology, when we were both appointed to the COC, I think in December. Was that right? December. Yes. I think very quickly thereafter, we saw from the city of Sacramento that they were not going to support this effort at the COC. And so we realized, okay, we got to pivot to our alternative, that SHHB, which I think if this hadn't happened, I would still be in support of. But I think this was our preferred approach back in December. I think this is a much better approach, and I'm very thankful that we were able to get the result that we got. I am happy to continue serving on the COC. I appreciate Supervisor Serna's comments. I'm certainly happy to serve on the ad hoc committee too. I think that makes a certain amount of sense, just in terms of just kind of consistency. The 2 supervisors that are going to be representing us, at least for now, on the COC, involved in that effort to, I think, flesh out ultimately how it's going to operate, the number of stakeholders, community voices, and the committee structure. But it will be a staff-driven process, I think, by and large as well, that task force, correct?
Yes, and we also envision both for the task force phase as well as ultimately for the new governing body to have outside support. And the task force phase is really more about keeping us on track and moving and getting to some of those milestones. Once we have the new governing body, one of the conversations that happened definitely at the COC and certainly at the city of Sacramento was that this is going to be a staff-intensive body, not just sort of the clerking of it, although that's a big amount of work too, but helping to set a strategic plan for that new governing body, helping establish who they are. So we envision, at least for a few years, that we'll have external support at that level as well.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. So when we're talking, I just want to make sure we're clear in the terms. The task force, very short period of time, just to kind of figure out how we're going to restructure the COC itself with majority elected official control of that body. this new governing body is the one the city of Sacramento just supported, which we envision as being kind of an ancillary to the COC board. In other words, kind of I think how you described it is the COC board would meet with all the stakeholders, people with lived experience, and then after that meeting, just the electeds would meet, and the scope of the things they discuss would probably be much broader than just COC items.
But both of those, importantly, would be convened as Brown Act publicly accessible.
And I think a great point made by the chair. I think the beauty of that new governing body that would be attached, semi-attached to the COC, is that we could collectively, with all the jurisdictions represented, decide what representation we want and the number of representatives. And it may morph, it may change, but I think it's a great start. And the other thing I'm happy to serve on the task force, continue serving the COC, but it may not be something I want to do forever. So I would ask that the appointment to the COC would be in January from our own ranks. We add that to own ranks appointments, maybe at the beginning of every year. Is that already what we have in place?
I believe that's currently true.
That's already, okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. No. I would say for the COC appointments, just another little, you might recall, one of the reasons that it was sort of hurried through in December was because the federal government was signaling changes to the application process. And historically, the COC application hasn't gotten that specific, where you have to have this member and this member. The new NOFO supposedly is coming out around June 1st, and we anticipate that composition that we currently have will check the boxes. But honestly, it could change any time, and so we would like to create a COC composition that can sort of weather the storms of whatever the federal government, but that's just really difficult in the scenario we're in right now. This has never been an issue. The COC board composition was never scrutinized at the federal level until this administration.
And I don't think, I just want to, excuse me, I don't think it wasn't just in response to the federal government. I think it was a growing realization from all of us locally that we needed to have more direct elected official involvement in the COC, which has now resulted in the vote we took.
It was just the urgency to do it ahead of this conversation is what prompted the December. I think that I completely agree with you, but there was an urgency because at that time we thought the NOFO was going to drop in January. And then, everything changes on a dime now, so we were just responding.
Supervisor Kennedy?
Yeah, to be clear to that point, these discussions as far as reconfiguring the COC, we've been having these discussions far predates the current administration, but the urgency did come. A couple of things. First of all, I would be remiss if I didn't say, you and your counterpart at City Secretary deserve amazing credit for how hard you've worked on this. And I think that we're in a better place than we've been ever. At getting community voice in there. I will correct one thing, and I believe it was you misspoke.
Okay.
And that was, you said there would be a more limited community participation.
Oh, I definitely didn't mean to say it if I did say that.
I know you did.
Thank you.
Because I don't want that message to get out there. That is not the case. But what it is it's leading to more inclusivity, more accountability through the elected officials, and going even further, and a less restrictive one than could have been put in place should a piece of legislation that's been discussed at the Capitol been enacted, and allow us to act more nimbly and react in a way that, say a JPA, and JPA, by the way, just to be fair and totally honest, is not off the table. That could also be a part of these discussions. I think we know where I stand on that, because I think they're more restrictive than we need to be and can't act as quickly as we can. But with more accountability through our elected officials, more transparency, even a Brown Act body, we're heading into a great place. And as far as we're not talking about going forward with the bigger body. Right now, we're just talking about this task force to establish what that looks like. For the chair's concerns as far as moving forward with the task force and only having 2 members, I can tell you, and I can, with great confidence, that there's been 2 members of this body on the COC, and all 5 bodies, all 5 districts have been represented on the COC during all of these discussions. At times, to the point where the discussions weren't always terribly pleasant. I will also say that in conversations that I have had with another jurisdiction in which that jurisdiction would prefer to see an ultimate body of 3 members from that jurisdictions and 2 members from the Board of Supervisors, my comments were, that's a non-starter. This county, which has the highest population of any of the jurisdictions in Sacramento County, will not be superseded by any other jurisdiction in representation. In my mind, and my vote and my efforts, should I be on the task force, which I would like to be on the task force.
Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. I think there's no doubt that all of us are engaged and interested, and this is the number one issue on the minds of people. That and potholes, really.
So I hear.
Yeah, so I hear. But I don't need a weatherman to say which way the wind blows, and I don't want to devolve into a thumb wrestling match to figure it out. But I just would like to say that I have been trying to lean in on this issue for a while now, and so I would also throw my hat in the ring to serve on the task force or the new body or both or whatever. But I don't know how we resolve the fact that there's more people interested than there needs to be involved at this particular juncture.
And I'll also add that I am very interested in being on this task force. I think that when we look at boards and commissions that we sit in, when I first joined, I didn't get any of the boards that really are sort of the most popular ones, and so I would love the opportunity to be on this one that I really enjoy the creation of teams and departments and what comes together, and while I have appreciated, I think anyone really can move into this task force. It doesn't really have to be those that sat on the COC. So I am just going to throw a motion out there that for this task force, that it will be Supervisor Hume and myself to be on this task force to bring our strategic thinking to this body that hopefully could, we'll end up creating something great at the end of the year. So that's my motion. And if there's no second on that, so I will entertain a motion. Supervisor Sarna?
Thank you, Chair. I would move that we establish the ad hoc planning task force to include members Kennedy and Desmond, who currently serve as our reps on the COC.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
That passes unanimously 5-0.
All righty.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Next item, please.
The next item on our agenda, boards to consider nominations to the following. And item number 56. First, I'd like to announce that the following nominations have been continued to June 9th, 2026. We have the Adult and Aging Commission, the County Planning Commission, North Highlands Community Planning Advisory Council, Orangevale Community Planning Advisory Council, and Sacramento County Behavioral Health Youth Advisory Board. The following bodies and nominations have been continued to June 16th, 2026. We have the Antelope Community Planning Advisory Council, the Developmental Disabilities Planning and Advisory Council, the Disability Advisory Commission, and the Health and Human Services Coordinating Council. And finally, continued to July 14th, 2026, we have the Cemetery Advisory Commission, the Natomas Community Planning Advisory Council, and the Sacramento County Treasury Oversight Committee. And for today's nominations, first we have the Cordova Community Planning Advisory Council. There are 6 seats. 2 are District 3 nominations.
Please continue to June 16th.
Thank you. And 2 are District 5 nominations.
We would like to reappoint Daniel Reyes and continue the remainder to June 16th.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee. There are 2 citizen member seats.
I'm sorry, which one was that?
Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee, 2 citizen member seats.
Chiefs recommend nominating Susan Slager, and please continue the remaining to June 9th.
Thank you. Then we have the Maternal, Child, and Adolescent Health Advisory Board. There are 10 seats.
Chiefs recommend nominating Dr. Christina Lane and continue the remaining July 14th.
Thank you. Then we have the Sacramento County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. There are 2 seats, 1 youth member seat.
For the youth member, please continue to June 9th.
And 1 District 4 nomination.
Please nominate Leah Shank.
Thank you. Next, we have the Sacramento County Youth Commission. There is 1 District 4 nomination.
Please continue to June 9th.
Thank you. And the Sheriff Community Review Commission. There are 3 seats, 1 District 1 nomination.
Please continue to June 9th.
Thank you. 1 District 3 nomination.
Please reappoint Ted Walter.
Thank you. And 1 District 4 nomination.
Please continue to June 9th.
Thank you. And finally, we have the Veterans Advisory Commission. 1 District 1 seat.
Please continue to June 9th.
All right, thank you. And that will do it for our nominations.
And just for the record, Todd, were there any public comments on the item before, number 55?
No, there were no public comments on the one before.
I am dropping the ball with public comments. All right, thank you. All right. And then we do have public comments after
Yes.
in this section. Okay.
Thank you for that. We do have some public comments for items listed on our agenda as 60 through 65, receive and files. And for item 60, Citrus Heights Water District, request for consolidation of the general district election, Barb Ram.
Good afternoon, Barb.
Hi.
Thank you, Barb. All right, next item, please.
Next item, we have a speaker signed up for item 61, Galt City Council.
Okay.
Request for consolidation on the primary municipal election. Barb Ram.
Yep. Hello.
Hello. Thank you, Barb.
You're welcome.
And next up, we have a speaker for item 62.
I don't think we have to take comment on items for receipt and file.
I believe if it's listed
on the agenda.
on the agenda, they have a chance to comment. And Chair, we seem to have lost our quorum for the meeting.
There's no more votes, so it's all right.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if you would like, I have an adjournment. I can finish chairing the meeting if you'd like.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
I'll stay. Thank you, Barb. Next item, please.
Next item on our agenda is number 63. That is the Sacramento County Department of Finance Single Audit Report. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Barb. Next item, please.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Oh, you Supervisor
Punched
Kennedy?
in, yes. Madam Chair, I'm going to request that the chair exercise your prerogative and you limit public comments for the remainder of this meeting to 15 seconds each.
Okay, I will, for the next few items, I will limit it to 15 seconds each item.
Getting that clock set real quick. And right there. And so next we have a public comment for item 64, the General Services Contract 4506.
Thank you, Barb. Next item, please.
Next item is 65. We have public comment for the Budget and Debt Management American Rescue Plan.
All right, 15 seconds. Thank you, Barb. Next item, please.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is number 57, County Executive Comments.
Thank you, Todd. If I can ask Metro Cable to pull up a picture for me. So, Supervisors, I just want to once again announce some exciting news and celebrate one of our own. This is Emily White, a program manager for Public Administration, Guardian, Conservatorship, and Conservatorship's Office, and she was named President's Award of Excellence for their California Association. This award goes to one person out of more than 950 members statewide, so this is kind of a big deal. Emily has been with the county now for 20 years and has been focusing on policy development and staff training for both here and across the state. I spoke with her this morning and had some discussions with her about her favorite parts of her job, which is dealing with legislation and some of the legislative things that she's doing. She's currently working on AB 1660, which allows some additional authority for the conservatorship offices to have access to various funding and other things that are happening in the banking industry. So, but in her own words, she also said that while she's recognized by her peers, she feels that this is a great achievement, one of her biggest achievements of her career, but also recognizes it's not just her, but it's her entire office. And so with that, I just like to ask, and you help me congratulating Emily on this well-deserved recognition. Second on my list of things I just wanted to share you, if you haven't heard, we have a little event coming up on June 2nd, our statewide primary election, and the voter registration office is moving fairly quickly, and I already have our ballots out, mailed out to everybody. On Saturday, we will be opening 19 of our 11-day voting centers. This is our first mobile vote center that we will be launched and have it stationed in Anatolia. We have approximately 1 million elected voters that are going to be just under 1 million that will be voting or eligible to vote. Of that, there are 34 contests. One of those is, of course, the primary for the governor's office, which there's 61 candidates for governor running. But there's also 205 candidates total running on this ballot for those 34 contests. This is one of our VRE, voter registration, is one of the smallest departments throughout different parts of the year, but when it comes time for the elections, they staff up to more than 1,500 permanent, temporary county staff and poll workers, and they continue to do a fantastic job in the security and the safety of our election. One of the things I would like to do is two things. One, draw your attention to My Voter Portal, which is a portal in which folks can look up their the information as it relates to the access to their election material, ballot drop-off information, vote centers, and much, much more. But also, I'd like to invite each of you out on June 2nd to come to the voter registration on 65th Avenue. 65th Street to observe on that particular night. So thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations, Emily. And for board comments, I do have one. I want to congratulate Sydney Wilson, a junior at Vista Del Lago High School, for being selected as one of only 18 young women nationwide to receive the National Charities League 18 and Under Award. That was quite an accomplishment. And then I do have one board request that we have the recent PIC count numbers presentation, either from the Sacramento Steps Forward or from our Housing and Homeless, so that we can have a better, clear understanding understanding of the 102% increase in the unincorporated county of homelessness. And we do have one adjournment. Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. I want to close the meeting today in honor of Jonathan Greg Burgess, who left us peacefully on May 11th after a courageous 4-year battle with ALS. Jonathan dedicated over 30 years of service to the City of Sacramento Fire Department, culminating his career as a battalion chief. He was also a national face in the fight for reparations for Black Californians. He was the published author of Gold Rush, Burgess Family Descendants, passionately upholding justice and revealing untold truths about his ancestral land in Coloma. Alongside his twin brother, Matthew, he co-founded Burgess Brothers, sharing cherished recipes from his South Sacramento roots and fostering community connections through his love of food. In fact, Burgess Brothers Restaurant was a recipient of the District 2 Award of Excellence from EMD in years past. Jonathan leaves behind his beloved life partner, Lauren Brown, daughters Justice, 23, and Jordan, 21, twin brother Matthew, his sister Tanya, brothers Dwayne, Morgan, Milton, and Ronnie, numerous nieces and nephews. He was preceded in death by his mother Bernice Burgess and father Milton Burgess, his sisters Rosalind and Deborah Burgess. He will always be remembered for his radiant smile, acts of service, and unwavering devotion to his family, community, even in the face of adversity. In honor of Jonathan's wishes, there will not be a formal service. Instead, it's encouraged that acts of love, compassion, and kindness be shared with those closest to him and with others in the community. Jonathan faced ALS with remarkable strength and grace while the disease continues to impact countless individuals and families across the country. Increased awareness, research, and support are critical in the fight to end ALS and to provide care for those living with this devastating illness. In lieu of flowers, the family kindly asked that donations be made to the ALS Association in Jonathan's memory. He was probably one of the most community-minded, nicest guys I've ever known.
All right, we will now adjourn in memory of Jonathan Greg Burgess, and we will adjourn this meeting to closed session.